Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Move.
I'm saying no, why you hear Palantir, 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 Palantir. It's not going to stop.
Seriously, we need to release the F-scene list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Tuesday matinee edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
How's everybody doing? I hope I'm coming through okay. I know that there was buffering a little bit on that video. This is not good. I gotta get in touch.
Believe me, not good.
Gotta get in touch with the cable company because they upgrade, but sometimes an upgrade can mean a downgrade. Ever since they've changed it, it's been a little touch and go. Although last stream went pretty well. I didn't see any hiccups actually on my end when I had the video when I had the video file. So that's good. But I know it did get a little choppy there. So my apologies. Hopefully everybody's experiencing loud and clear internet. This is Russell.
I think they're more concerned about your hair.
Yeah. Well, no, some people said it was
saying a lot. They're more concerned about your choppy hair.
Yeah, well, that I can't do anything about.
Your hair's buffering.
That I can't do anything about. That's out of my control. But the internet is something I like to think I can influence in some way.
Yeah, dude, I never did it this way. And these people, you call Apple, they're supposed to know what they're talking about. Anytime I ever changed phones, I changed the cellular service, but I didn't want to lose access to my apps. So I was like, I'll just do it over the Wi-Fi.
Right.
Oh, man. Almost 2 weeks later, I finally figure out, it's because you didn't transfer your service. That's why it's taking that long. Because if it's all going over Wi-Fi like that, the Wi-Fi is going to end up throttling you.
Right.
They don't want to give you all that data. That's why it was taking that long.
Right. Interesting.
And I called Apple, and he didn't tell me that. He was like, "Yeah, you're just going to have to wait." Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're used to saying. That's their standard response. It's happening. Don't worry. It's the cloud.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Don't try to restart. It's just going to slow it down.
Yeah, it'll just slow it down. That's right. That'll only slow you down. So this is Russell's last show stateside for a while. Russell begins his voyage to the other side tomorrow.
I am on my way to the beloved land of Tide, the land of smiles, as they call it. I will be heading out tomorrow. That is a long-ass journey. I think it's going to take over 20 hours to get there. Got to change flights in Delhi. Finally get there on the 8th, leaving on the 7th. Get there at night.
Flying out of Kennedy or LaGuardia? Probably Kennedy, right?
Of course, Kennedy.
Yeah.
For an international flight like that.
Something that long, yeah.
I got to tell you, man, Air India, I have flown Air India a fair amount. Best food on Air India. Like they actually give you like decent Indian food on Air Indian flights. So I've had good experiences with their flights. And the best part, Airbus.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Yeah, going on an Airbus. But I'm taking other flights in country that you just can't control for that. Like if you're doing a trip like this, like you just got to kiss it up to God and,
Yeah, that's it.
Go with it, man. Go with it.
That's all you could do. All right. Well, we got 745 strong in the YouTube chat.
All right. So guys, I'm going to be doing the show. I appreciate the sentiment, but I will be on the show.
Yes.
I'll be off Thursday because I'll be in the air literally but I will be back on Sunday, Tuesday. I'm taking off actually for some dental work Thursday, believe it or not. And then when I was first scheduling the trip, I didn't think through all the time differences. The rest of the trip, I was good about not missing Sundays, but the first Sunday, I didn't think it through properly. So I'm like in transit during the show. Maybe I'll call in from the train. I'll be on the
that
train.
might be fun. That might be fun. So yeah, on Thursday, we got our friend Kit Cabello from Heartlands Media gonna sit in the co-host chair with me on Thursday, and then I will be solo hosting the Jimmy Dore Show on Friday. Special guest Caleb Maupin. Might get one more guest too. I'm not quite sure yet. But that's a few days away.
Let me, since we're stopped, I might as well get my plug in. Just get it in at the top. Russ on the Road.
Oh,
right? Yeah. All right. So I just actually dropped my review of Tartuffe, in which Matthew Broderick runs away from me. So when I try to ask him a question, that video just dropped at noon if you want to check it out to tide you over. But go over to my Russ on the Road channel if you haven't already subscribed. I will be putting stuff from Thailand on this channel, but more where it's appropriate because it has a political angle or something like that. But if you want to see me like eat a big plate of wings, that's where you're going to see that kind of thing, going up on a hot air balloon, kayaking, all that. So I'm on all the socials. Haven't quite gotten them all active. The Substack, that's going to be for writing articles, which is actually what I prefer. So that's some of what's up there. Right now, a lot of theater content because I wanted to get in all the shows that are going to close before I come back. So I took Jose to Waiting for Godot. Like I said, I just dropped my review of Tartuffe. And there will be a review of the Broadway production of Chess coming, which is kind of political because it's this 80s Cold War thing.
Right.
With a lot of those Cold War kind of politics. It's like the politics of that show are like to the right of the Rambo series.
Right.
But you know, it was fun. And so that'll be dropping. So go on over to Russ on the Road NYC and subscribe if you haven't already.
There we go. All right, folks. Well, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, smash that follow button over on Rumble, up to 871 in the YouTube chat, 302 over on Rumble. Lots to get to today, so let's jump right in and start the fun. So now former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think her last day was yesterday, made an appearance on CNN, and she had some harsh parting words for the direction that Trump and the MAGA movement has gone in. Here she is reminding Donald Trump and his cabinet that they were elected to run America, not to be globalists, not to run other countries, not to pursue regime change and foreign wars.
Again, from an America First standpoint, Caitlin, Venezuela belongs to the Venezuelan people, and they should elect their own government leaders. We have elected our government leaders, the Trump administration, and we've elected them to run America, not to be globalist, not to run other countries, not to pursue regime change and foreign wars. We very much need our government and our government leaders to focus on the American people and the issues that we care about on Main Street, USA.
That sounds a lot more like MAGA. That sounds a lot more like what the Trump base thought they were voting for. Isn't it ironic that she makes that speech, or gives that interview, I should say, as an outgoing member of Congress, literally on her way out the door, while at the same time, this guy is on Air Force One with Donald Trump. Look at
that. I think it every time I see her. Katie Collins looks like an android.
Lindsey Graham on Air Force One with the Make Iran Great Again hat. Look at that. Another great day with POTUS, who has brought America back stronger than ever at home and abroad. God bless our commander-in-chief and all of the brave men and women who serve under him. I'd like to serve under him, if you know what I mean. Be an honor to serve under him. Be honest, it'd be an honor for him to serve me while I'm under him. I'm proud to be an American. God bless and protect the brave people of Iran who are standing up to tyranny. Yes, Dave DeCamp at antiwar.com has a brief write-up here. President Trump poses with Senator Graham and a Make Iran Great Again hat. Senator Lindsey Graham posted a photo on X on Monday of himself and President Trump posing with a hat that reads, Make Iran Great Again, amid threats of another U.S. and Israeli war against Iran. Trump, during the 12-day U.S.-Israeli war in Iran, appeared to threaten Iran with regime change. It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? And then look at that, MAGA, M-I-G-A, he wrote on Truth Social on June 22nd. Graham's post comes amid protests in Iran that President Trump has suggested he may use as a pretext to attack the country. So the Venezuela op is to secure the oil to stabilize oil prices, which makes it easier to invade Iran. All the timing comes together pretty well, does it not? If Iran shoots, is what he meant. That's Trump's error, not Dave's, by the way. That's Trump's error, not Dave DeCamp's. If Iran shoots and violently kills peaceful protesters, which is their custom, the United States of America will come to their rescue, Trump wrote on Truth Social on Friday, not long before his military bombed and invaded Venezuela to kidnap President Nicolas Maduro. During his flight with Graham, Trump threatened Colombian President Gustavo Petro with a similar raid and suggested that Cuba was ready to fall. So Kim.com observes not only Trump's comments, but the expression and the added commentary from Lindsey Graham as Donald Trump threatens Cuba. Let's take a look at this.
One of the things that is happening, and I think you see it all the time, Howard, you've seen it, that Cuba is ready to fall. You know?
Yes.
Cuba looks like it's ready to fall. I don't know
Excited.
if they're going to hold out. But Cuba now has no income. They got all of their income from Venezuela, from the Venezuelan oil. They're not getting any of it. And Cuba literally is ready to fall. And you have a lot of great Cuban Americans that are going to be very happy about this.
Marco Rubio.
Okay, that was only part one of Cuba threats, because Lindsey Graham chimed in himself. DD Geopolitics comments, the USA has been completely taken over by neocon Zionists and insane old gays like Lindsey Graham and others. Yes, this is a cabal of insane gays. I would say old and young gays. I would say gays of all ages. Gays of all ages. Here's Lindsey Graham.
As to this commander-in-chief, he did something people talked about doing. You just wait for Cuba. Cuba is a communist dictatorship that's killed priests and nuns. They've preyed on their own people. Their days are numbered. We're going to wake up one day, I hope in 26, in our backyard, we're going to have allies in these countries doing business with America, not narco-terrorist dictators killing Americans. This is a big frigging day. And everybody in the world is thinking differently than they were just a few days ago because of what you did.
So once again, Marjorie Taylor Greene on her way out the door while this is the conversation on Air Force One. Who won that MAGA civil war? I think it's quite obvious. Graham was not done. He took his, joyful anticipation of Iranian regime change on Fox News. Here he is interviewed by human cigarette Trey Gowdy. Looks like a cigarette. That's what this guy looks like.
It does.
He looks like a.
It looks like a butt you'd find
cigarette
on the sidewalk.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like a discarded cigarette. This guy. That's why I think, despite all his years in the business, he can't get off the weekend shows. Or what is he? Sunday, Monday? What is this? I know this would have been the 5th. This would have been yesterday. All right, so it was weekday, but never prime time. So here's Lindsey Graham with Trey Gowdy.
This is an opportunity to rid the world of the single biggest sponsor of terrorism.
Well, all the people who were protesting for the Palestinians, where are you today?
Where are you?
Standing behind the people of Iran or trying to throw over the Ayatollah, who's a religious Nazi, who killed a 16-year-old girl for not wearing a head cover on a bus, who's tortured, raped, and maimed the population, who is the largest state sponsor of terrorism on the planet. The people are in open revolt. They've chosen not to live this way anymore. And unlike Obama, President Trump has not turned his back on the people of Iran. So I pray and hope that 2026 will be the year that we make Iran great again.
The year that we make Iran great again. Wow. Doesn't
Is
get
what I
much.
voted for.
Yeah, that's what we voted for, right? Here's President Trump calling in on the phone saying, this incredible thing last night, we have to do it again. We have to do it again. Nobody can stop us. That's right. Can't stop President Trump.
You can't take a chance after having done this incredible thing last night of letting somebody else take over, where we have to do it again. We can do it again, too. Nobody can stop us. There's nobody that has the capability that we have. You know, when I watch that war in Russia going on and on and on and everybody dying, and it's like it's primitive. It's primitive. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Could you tell it?
Really horrible. See, so what you're getting, I mean, you're starting to see a little pattern emerge here where when MAGA said they were anti-war, really what they meant is they don't want prolonged occupation. But the goals of like dominating other countries through violence and stealing their resources and cornering them economically and exploiting their populations, that's what most sane and humane people think when they talk about being anti-war. But no, MAGA is apparently on board with that, as we'll see in a big way in the next segment. But you're starting to see signs of that emerge right now. Here is Stephen Miller pretty much saying it like it is here. We are a superpower, and under President Trump, we're going to conduct ourselves as a superpower.
Is using its military to secure our interests unapologetically in our hemisphere. We're a superpower, and under President Trump, we are going to conduct ourselves as a superpower. It is absurd that we would allow a nation in our own backyard to become the supplier of resources to our adversaries, but not to us, to hoard weapons from our adversaries, to be able to be positioned as an asset against the United States rather than on behalf of the United States.
Sovereign countries shouldn't be able to do what they want to do.
The Monroe Doctrine and the Trump Doctrine is all about securing the national interests of America. For years, we sent our soldiers to die in deserts in the Middle East to try to build them parliaments, to try to build them democracies, to try to give them more oil, to try to give them more resources. The future of the free world, Jake, depends on America being able to assert ourselves and our interests without apology. This whole period that happened after World War II, where the West began apologizing and groveling and...
Oh, is that what we've done? We've been apologizing and groveling since World War II. Yeah. I think World War II marked the transition between the British Empire and what would become this grotesque and violent and now lawless U.S. empire. And these people act as if the only option is to, you know, hide in a corner or lash out violently. The idea that you could have diplomatic relations with a country that is not ideologically aligned with you doesn't seem to occur to them, which is very ironic, because what did Trump say in 2016 over and over again? We should get along with Russia. We should get along with China. It's good to get along with these other countries. That was really what differentiated the sort of MAGA ethos from the neocon sort of Bush ethos. Right? That, hey, we don't have to love what you're about. You know, you have evil things like universal health care and like world record literacy rates. And in a case of a country like Cuba, you export doctors instead of soldiers. We can hate that about you, which I guess as good market capitalists we do. But the whole ethos of the Trump doctrine, before it became the Don Roe doctrine, was that we can coexist with countries whether we endorse everything about them or not. That is what people voted for in 2016. That's what a lot of people thought they were voting for again in 2024. An even starker contrast with what became an extraordinarily hostile policy towards Russia under Joe Biden, where the Ukraine war ballooned into what it is now. Instead, we got nothing. Instead, we got a complete about face where now Marjorie Taylor Greene is on her way out the door and Lindsey Graham is on Air Force One posing with Donald Trump with Make Iran Great Again hats. Talk about a rug pull. I mean, again, this has just been the biggest scam in modern political history.
It's very much the way that you kind of needed Bill Clinton to execute Ronald Reagan's policy agenda. You needed Donald Trump to execute George Bush and Dick Cheney's foreign policy agenda. You needed this guy who pretended to be an anti-globalist to get away with this level of just absolute neocon foreign policy. The same way you need a guy like Clinton. I feel your pain to cut welfare. You needed a guy like that because it neutralized the opposition to those kinds of policies.
Right.
Having a guy like Trump actually neutralized the opposition to neoconservatives. And you can see it right there. Who's leaving? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Who is as giddy as he would be at a Celine Dion concert? Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, that just really says it all. It says it all. It's like I said, just an extraordinary scam that that they have run here. It really is quite
on every level.
Remarkable. On every
level, man. The surveillance state, I'm going to get into that a little bit. The WEF, own nothing and be happy. This is all coming to you from these guys. These guys, and they got you busy screaming about Somalians, man. And that is something that only Trump and the people around him could have done to get people, even with everything they know now about how they've been conned, to waste time freaking out about daycare centers in Minnesota while we're kidnapping foreign leaders and getting ready to invade half of South America. You're screaming about daycare centers.
Yeah, just extraordinary. And you talk about globalism, right? Because this was the rallying cry. It still is the rallying cry on like InfoWars, where, you know, Alex Jones is still trying to frame this as a fight between nationalism and globalism. Well, as Max Blumenthal said on the Jimmy Dore show last night when you interviewed him, the Venezuelan movement is essentially a nationalist one, almost more than a communist one. He was talking about how, yes, there are a lot of communists in the Venezuelan nationalist movement because communism was the sort of resistance block against exploitation by capital. Sure, but they are really nationalist in character. If you're a nationalist, you believe in national sovereignty and independence for every state. Again, going back to what Donald Trump said vis-a-vis relations with Russia. We don't have to love Russia, but it's in our interest and it's in the world's interest for the United States and Russia to have peaceful relations. And that is just the complete opposite of what we're seeing now.
Well, and really, you know, there's why many will say, and I think it's true, Americans are literally the most propagandized people on earth. If you step back for 2 seconds, it's very clear none of this is really in our national interest. Like none of it. None of it. Like what do you think? Like the rest of the world is going to invade? Like they're going to invade America? Like what is the purpose? What is the point? What does it cost us if Venezuela has a government of their own? It doesn't cost us anything. It costs a lot of Trump's donors something, a lot of oil companies something. That's who this is all about. Look what happened with Argentina. Why'd we give no sooner? People were saying, why are we giving this guy billions of dollars? Turns out Scott Bessent's buddies have investments there that they're going to clean up on from that money.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Why don't we take some super chats? I'm gonna get some Rumble rants queued up.
All right, let's rock and roll. Let's do it. Turk, you're due. Another day in Gangster's Paradise.
That's right.
Keaton, man, you got the music channel. Sing it, man. Bust that out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Living in the Gangster's Paradise. Zandor Vorkov, just in. New comments from the Secretary of War. Oh, yeah. The Midnight Hammer strikes again, bish. Yep.
It's good hiccuping.
Hiccup on
command. That's not bad.
31 Umber. According to Alex Jones, the globalists opposed Trump's Venezuelan regime change.
Yeah, no, that's a very coherent statement. Yeah.
This is how you fight the globalists.
you have to invade other countries and you have to become the globalist. The only way to beat them is to join them and to become them and to be them. You got to be the globalist to be the globalist. It's very zen. Some of you are not ready for that.
The globalist in me recognizes the globalist in you.
There's kind of like my haiku about globalism.
Yeah, right.
Smitty Jones III. Keaton, check out an album from last year by Hannah Francis called Nested in Tangles. Russell, will you be visiting the My Lai Museum in Vietnam? You fucking nut. What? You think I'm going there or not? Yeah, I'm in Da Nang. You go there from there. There are tours out of Da Nang that go to My Lai. Yeah, of course I'm going there. And there are also, everybody knows about in Ho Chi Minh City, you can go into the Viet Cong tunnels as part of a tour, but they actually have that there too. I'm going to do it there.
Nice. Yeah, I do have to check out more new music. The music has gotten so shitty in general. You really have to dig and dig and dig to find good stuff. So thanks for that recommendation.
If you find any, let me know.
Yeah. Yeah, my next video on the Shuffle Pod, which by the way, there it is, the link if you want to go subscribe. That's going to be the top 5 albums of 1988. That's a good one. That was a tough ranking to pull off because there's a lot that I really like from that year. Not a lot compared to like the 70s, so much better decade. Even the 90s, I think was a better decade. But there were a good 7 or 8 that are really, really strong that I had to squeeze into the top 5 and rank them. So that should be fun. That'll probably come out tomorrow.
Yeah, I got to catch up with your stuff, man. I've been so busy planning for the trip, but I really enjoyed your first. I watched that whole thing. What was it? You started with 1986, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Year I was born. That's the gimmick.
Yep. That's the hook.
You gotta have a gimmick. Yeah, gotta have a hook.
Turk Yurdu. There are rumors Mitch is side act by Keaton.
Mitch who? You're talking about Mitch?
Who?
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about.
Which Mitch? Heavy Snack. This administration is blatantly fear-mongering boomers and Gen X who are propagandized by Cold War era films such as Red Dawn to build support for attacking Venezuela and Cuba. Avenge me. Yeah, man. I mean, it is pretty amazing if you really understand the history. I was talking to Keaton about this. I shared this. Some chud shared out a tweet talking about the Russian roulette scene and the Deer Hunter. And it really just shows you how that whole grift is really built around the most regarded appeal to white man grievance politics. He talks about that scene like it happened. Yes, that's what I think about. The men being forced into this while they shout Mao, Mao at them. And a Vietnamese person actually responded to it like, yeah, you get your politics from a movie. We saw whole villages of people get melted here.
Yeah.
That's what we actually experienced. I mean, was there any torture in Vietnam? Sure. 9/11 was what they would have called Tuesday in Vietnam and Cambodia. And look what we did. Look what we did over that. Can you imagine what Americans would do if a foreign power came and did to us 1/10 of what we did to Vietnam if you captured their soldiers? Can you imagine what Americans would do to them? Forget about it, man. We did it over 9/11, which as tragic and significant as that was, again, they were doing this to people in Vietnam every day for over 10 years.
Yeah. In fact, 9/11 happened on a Tuesday, so they literally did call it Tuesday in Vietnam.
Yes, literally. Yep. It was an election day too.
No, it's getting crazy to the point where like they're posting movies. Like Alex Jones posted as a defense for Venezuela the scene from the Jack Ryan show with what's his name? What's the big doofus?
Kiefer Sutherland, right?
No, John Krasinski. He's the guy who was giving a lecture to this college hall. That's what Alex Jones posted. This is why we have to be in Venezuela, and it was literally a scene from a CIA produced fictional TV show. Where John Krasinski is lecturing the students on the dangers of the Chinese and the Russians and the Venezuelans.
Well, literally, is this where they showed torture? Didn't they post a video of like torture?
That's a different one. That they did that too. They showed a movie scene of torture.
Yeah,
but this was a scene from the Jack Ryan show where John Krasinski is lecturing these kids, which is literally, I mean, that is the flip side of what the libs used to do. if you remember that scene of Jeff Daniels in the newsroom was viral everywhere, where the libs were like, "Yeah, you must watch this." Yeah, okay, yeah, like anybody with an IQ above 95 and a moderate interest in politics knew everything he was saying 20 years ago. That wasn't like great insider knowledge, but the way they shared that around, now Alex Jones is sharing fictional lectures by CIA created fictional characters to justify Venezuela. Really, really mind-blowing. Really mind-blowing. Which, by the way, I mean, I still can't figure out why exactly he's a fan, given what we say about his dad. But Rex Jones loves the show.
Yes.
And look, in fairness to the guy, and I don't plan on talking with him about his dad because whatever, he's his own man. That's probably why he loves the show, because he's his own man, and so he loves our show. And he used to super chat us all the time before we knew who he was. And then we deduced that Alex Jones' son is a legit longtime fan of the show. So we're actually going to have Rex Jones on a week from today. He's going to be making his debut.
Having him on a week from today
to
throw him. I'm gonna pay 2 lady boys to sit on either side of me.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. All right. We will move right on along. Okay, so the neocons have won the MAGA civil war, and now we're starting to find out that even among the more sort of nationalist MAGA diehards, they were never as anti-war as they let on. Nobody explains this better than one Andrew Tate. So here is Andrew Tate telling us the truth about Venezuela and explaining that he's not for prolonged conflicts. He's for surgical strikes where we go into other countries, dominate them, and steal their shit.
Venezuela. Take all their shit. These long, prolonged boots on the ground. Fuck Venezuela. Take all their shit. I'm against these long, prolonged boots on the ground, let's launder trillions, thousands of death, bullshit wars, Afghanistan garbage. I'm against that. But I am for efficient imperialism.
Oh, that's what you're for. Okay. So you're you're anti-war, but you support efficient imperialism. There we go. That clarifies a lot. That clarifies a lot. On the left, the rationale for being anti-war is that you are anti-imperialist. In fact, a lot of people on the left consider themselves anti-imperialist before being anti-war. That's why many on the left are sympathetic to the Russian position as it pertains to the Ukraine war, because they don't like war, but they feel like Russia was backed into a corner where it had no choice but to either go into Ukraine or have an encroachment of NATO right up to its border. So the thing is, I guess the left critique of war is rooted in anti-imperialism, whereas the MAGA critique of war
is the libertarian in a way.
Sure, of course, right.
What business is the rest of the world of ours? Leave people alone.
Exactly. So that's the left and the libertarian critique of war, whereas the MAGA critique of war seems to be that it takes too long and costs too much money. That seems to be their critique of war, because as he says here, he's for efficient.
It's very Jewish.
Imperialism.
You know what this is going to cost us?
Yes, exactly.
Let's launder trillions, thousands of death, bullshit wars, Afghanistan garbage. I'm against that. But I am for efficient imperialism. Send the Blackhawks, kidnap one guy, in and out, 45 minutes, get trillions. Bro, let's take all of it. Let's take Colombia. Let's take Mexico. Let's take all of Europe. Bro, I wish America would just invade Europe. Take Greenland. What the fuck are Denmark going to do? What the fuck are Denmark going to do?
Well, see, the more of these countries you say we should take, the less efficient it's going to be. I mean, that's kind of it's kind of extraordinary to be talking like this as if you're not making a complete caricature of yourself, because if there's one thing everybody knows, that empires before they die lash out and try to expand too quickly. And so what you're literally saying is what has brought every imperial power in the history of civilization to its knees. But I guess that's lost on Andrew Tate.
Nothing. Take their shit, bro. Take it. Why are we leaving South America to these fucking South Americans, these fucking Mexicans?
Why are we leaving South America to these fucking South Americans? Wow.
Anyone with a brain knows Mexico and below is all one big Mexico. Just a bunch of fucking Mexicans. I'm from Argentina. I'm from Colombia. I'm from Honduras. You're a bunch of Mexicans.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw a man from Honduras breaking into your car and you called the police, you'd be like, hey, there's a Mexican breaking into my car. They're Mexicans. Leaving it to a bunch of fucking Papacito. What are they even doing with these countries? Papacito, Shakira. They got all these countries, all this oil, and you talk to them for 5 minutes and they're just fucking dancing around. Papacito. It's fucking stupid. Take their shit, bruv. Send the army. Take their shit. Fuck these people. America should take everyone's shit while it's still capable. While there's a few white guys left, because they're the most competent. Send the Delta Force to take absolutely everybody's stuff. That's the way the world has always worked. There's no such thing as international law. There's just violence. And who has the most guns. That's the way everything works. Law isn't real. I've said to you guys for a very long time, law isn't real. It's an empire of lies. The idea of law and order is all made up. Who has guns?
Well, there you go. There you go. Saying it pretty simply. So Sneeko comes back with him. After October 7th, you ridiculed Ben Shapiro for encouraging war from the safe comfort of a podcast studio. And today in Romania, you do the exact same. 100 innocent lives were already lost with far more to come. Oil isn't extracted overnight. It's not too late to change your stance. He also posts here, Sneeko does. So funny how the same whites who claim blacks are inherently violent criminals then celebrate bombing and stealing from poor people. Only if it's done by a white guy in a suit. Black stealing from Walmart equals violent thug. Whites controlled by Israel nuking the world equals politics. Well, you know who was offended by that, of course, is Matt Walsh, who actually echoes a lot of what Andrew Tate says in a lot of his more recent arguments. See in a pattern, are you not? So Matt Walsh says, it's nice to see that some of these based right-wingers, like Sneeko, I suppose, are finally coming out of the closet as anti-white leftoids. There is zero difference between this commentary and what you get from the race communists on the left. Literally the same arguments. Well, I mean, it just happens to be, in this case, common sense, right? I mean, if a race communist tells you the sky is blue, does that make the sky green? No. Either engage, so Sneeko replies back, either engage in an actual conversation finally, or just stop typing the same goy slop script at me every week. Like that. I am anti-war. You are pro-war. Go cope somewhere else if you're afraid of confrontation. If a brown country invaded America to bomb D.C. and kidnap the president for the sole purpose of stealing our oil, we would rightfully call them terrorists. When Americans do it, it's called colonialism. Walsh comes back at him. This is the level of regarded sub-70 IQ commentary that has taken over some factions of the right. No brown country on earth would be capable of doing what this idiot describes. Wow. And yes, we're in favor of America exerting its power to advance its interests, but we're not in favor of other countries advancing their interests at our expense. Wow, you got us. What an insight. That's because we're Americans and we actually love our country and want it to succeed, unlike this guy. I like Janine Eunice's commentary here. And then Jesus said, and thou shalt bomb those inferior browns into submission and plunder their resources to benefit the oligarchs of the superior races. Not ever. Matt's a fake Christian and a cruel and evil person. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Because let's not forget, this was his hot take on the invasion itself. I'm as reflexively non-interventionist as anyone can possibly be. Well, apparently not. Apparently not. But Venezuela appears to be a resounding victory in one of the most brilliant military operations in American history. As an unapologetic American chauvinist, I want America to rule over this hemisphere and exert its power for the good of our people. If some shitty little tin pot third world dictator is harming our country or interfering with our national interests, we should do exactly what Trump did to Maduro. Why not? International law is fake and gay. The only international law is that big and powerful countries get to do what they want. It has been that way since the dawn of civilization. It has always been that way. And we are the most powerful country on the planet. It's about time we start acting like it. All right. Now, before we go any further, That once again echoes essentially what Andrew Tate said. There is no international law. It's might makes right, and it's been this way since the dawn of civilization. Well, unless you don't view, some of these Eastern countries as being civilized countries, look at what China has done in the last century. When was China last in a war? When were they last in a war? That sounds like a rhetorical question because it's been so long that most people don't know it. So you think that's a rhetorical question. It's not. The last time China was in a war was in 1979, the Sino-Vietnamese War, in response to the Vietnamese invasion of Cambodia. That war lasted 1 month. China's been at war 1 month in the last half a century. And look at what they have done with their country. They are, let's face it, everyone understands this now, whether people want to admit it or not. They are the emergent superpower. And they did it not by fighting wars, but how? By engaging diplomatically with countries that, in a way that makes countries like Venezuela want to deal with China instead of the United States, right? So it is not a fact of history that in order to thrive, you must brutally repress countries around the world. That is Matt Walsh's idea of how civilizations ought to function, because he is, as he admits in his own words, an unapologetic and unrepentant American chauvinist. But no, it does not have to be that way. Now, the irony of Matt Walsh shitting on international law is that, and the concept of international law is kind of a vague one, goes back centuries, if not to ancient times. But what everybody thinks of nowadays when we think about international law, we think about the post-war formation of the United Nations and the Geneva Conventions, which came to be because of an event that Matt Walsh's boss is keen to remember, of course. And here is Ben Shapiro, though, despite that, echoing the same disregard for any international law when it comes to this conflict, if you want to call it that.
Question of legal basis. Now, I understand there are a lot of people. There's sort of two questions when it comes to legal basis. One is the international legal basis, and one is the American domestic legal basis. Let me say up front, I do not care one iota about the supposed international basis for this sort of activity. I do not. There is no such thing as international law. It is specious.
It's funny because Israel would not exist were it not for the formation of what is currently interpreted as international law. It is that international consensus that birthed Israel, the country to which Ben Shapiro is clearly most loyal. But if we have to disregard that in order to, seize Venezuela's oil to help Israel invade Iran, then I guess fuck international law. It exists at our convenience.
I do not. There is no such thing as international law. It is specious. It is a lie. It is stupid. Because there is no enforcement mechanism for international law. Who defines international law in the first place? The United Nations, the Mos Eisley of geopolitics, a wretched hive of scum and villainy. The same United Nations is going to condemn the United States for ousting a brutal communist dictator.
And I just want to point out, you look at these company names like Palantir from Lord of the Rings, you look at these references to Star Wars, we're really living in Revenge of the Nerds. But it's not what they promised. They always cast it as when these downtrodden kids with no biceps but big brains take over, they're going to bring justice. But actually, if that's the way you grew up, you're probably seething with resentment and insecurity. So you give a bunch of people like that who spent their childhoods and adolescence getting wedgies, and you give them power and you give them platforms, they're just monsters. They're just monsters. That's what's really revealed. You have these horrible people who could quote Lord of the Rings to you chapter and verse, who want to take out on society their childhood wounds. I mean, Stephen Miller is a prime example of that. He got sent to a public school that was racially mixed and never got over it.
Right. Exactly.
Scum and villainy. The same United Nations is going to condemn the United States for ousting a brutal communist dictator after leaving him in place for a generation. That international law.
That international law, again, this is the same international law. If you look, I mean, if you just do a quick Google AI summation, I think this is more or less usable and applicable to this conversation, right? You want to call it a somewhat vague concept. Like I said, when most people refer to international law, they're speaking of that post-war period. That's post-war period, which birthed both international law and Ben Shapiro's beloved state of Israel. So it's funny that you would trash international law in a moment like this, but it's really not so funny at all when you consider that it suits his goals. And here is Stephen Miller, National Security Advisor, Deputy Chief of Staff, I think that's his second title, to the president, saying exactly this.
That is true. The United States of America is running Venezuela. By definition, that's true. Jake, we live in a world in which you can talk all you want about international niceties and everything else. But we live in a world, in the real world, Jake, that is governed by strength, that is governed by force, that is governed by power. These are the iron laws of the world.
And there you go. There you go. Those are the iron laws of Western hegemonic principles, I guess, that you must dominate other countries by force in order to assert your own power and your own standing. Again, I would just refer you to China. They've been at war 1 month in the last half century. Do a YouTube search on Chinese cities. Looks like they're living 300 years in the future. The idea that it has to be this way is nonsense. It has to be this way when we're stuck in this mindset that has just infected just about everyone in any position of power in either political party. Of course, the Democrats' response to this has been beyond pathetic, as expected. Their biggest complaint with this Venezuela op is that they were not notified in advance, which honestly, I don't know why you wouldn't just tell them in advance we're doing it, right? Just disarm them in that way. Just take that argument away from them, because it is an imperialist country in its end throes of domination. And this is what we do. This is what we do. In the final hour, all pretext goes out the window. It is now might makes right. You hear that from Stephen Miller. You hear that from the MAGA commentariat. And apparently this has been their ethos all along. That Andrew Tate video was very clarifying, because there's always been this strain of American chauvinism throughout MAGA, yet they've always insisted they're anti-war. Well, that's why they're anti-war. War is not efficient enough for their liking. Right? We don't want to get bogged down in a quagmire. We just want to go in, hit you, kidnap your president, send our companies in there to extract your oil out of the ground for our profit. And what's the problem with that? So they are not. They've never been anti-imperialist. War was, I guess, viewed as an inconvenience for them, and that's the extent to which they ever opposed it. This was a very, very clarifying few days in that way.
Well, it's very interesting that if you're going to find somebody who shares the hard times create strong men create good times create weak men. If you're going to see anyone who's going to share those kinds of memes, it's going to be the weak men who don't understand that diplomacy has always been a major part of statecraft. The idea that all statecraft has ever been is war, constant war. That flies in the face of human history as much as the idea of a human history that was built on peace and cooperation would. Either one is a great exaggeration of certain elements of history without taking into account the whole of history. Now, after World War II, as a lot of people on the left in particular will point out, the innovation to imperialism that the United States made, I think we can say this safely. I don't think at any other point in history, if a country emerged from a world war or the equivalent, a regional war, which would have been the world for them, with a weapon that no one could counter, that no one in the world could counter, nobody had anything like this, they would have taken over the world. Like directly. They would have set up the rest of the world as provinces, right? If the British got an atom bomb in the mid-19th century, what would they have done? They already conquered 54% of the surface of the earth. They would have taken everything. We did not do that. And that, if you want to talk about everything has to be battle and combat, that actually did earn a lot of goodwill that we lived off of for a very long time. I mean, the world did recognize for 3 years there, America was the only country that had an atom bomb, and they didn't take us all over. Now, here's the left argument and the dark side. They figured out that it's actually very inefficient to directly conquer and colonize a country. Then you got to send troops there. You're always going to have resistance movements that you got to put down. You have to install the whole bureaucracy and infrastructure. How much better to economically occupy these countries at the end of a implicit threat of a gun? That's basically what we did. We maneuvered these countries into a position where they allowed our corporations in to steal their resources. And this goes back to Venezuela and what that's really about and what the real grudge is. We updated imperialism to put a kinder, gentler face on it in many ways. Now, you could go back and forth about whether that was better or worse in a lot of ways than the old imperialism. But the idea that you're going to go out and Roman style start going into Germania like this, and that's been the whole course of human history. Even if you're at core an imperialist, it really shows you how fundamentally fucking stupid these people are. Like, even if you want to make an imperialist argument, this is about the dumbest, crudest, most ahistorical argument for that you could make. It's really, you want a nerd reference, and I've said this before. They didn't use it in the series, but I thought it was very evocative in the Game of Thrones books. They keep talking about, because seasons last for decades sometimes there, and people who were born in the winter season are hardy. And they keep talking about how that generation had been born in summer. They're the knights of summer. Right. They're foolish. They're foolish. They don't have the judgment. They don't have the hardiness. They don't have the qualities of strategy and thought that people who come up in a winter season do. And that is the hard men, weak men thing. But that's the irony. They are the weak men. Right. They are the weak men that they're talking about.
Yes, obviously. All right. We'll go to some Rumble rants here. T-Bone says, we're so excited for your adventure, Russ. Please don't endanger yourself while you're over there for footage. Just seeing you drinking coffee or getting a cheap beach massages be awesome enough. DD for the win.
I mean, look, I'd be honest with you. The things that I've got planned that intimidate me the most are not really that risky. Okay, you know what scares the shit out of me? I made myself do it when I was in Seattle. Those glass floors.
Oh, yeah.
Those scare the shit out of me. I made myself do it on the Space Needle. I was like, dude, it's all in your mind.
Yeah, it's all in your
mind. Like, it's been here since the 60s. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But they in Asia, they have a lot of that on a crazy scale. Like, they have glass bridges between mountains.
Wow.
Like that. Wow. So it's like, I'd like to do it, but I would have to get through a lot of like mental barriers to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Sunrise says, happy Feast of Epiphany when they three kings rocked up to the baby Jesus tooled up with gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Happy New Year. Thank you, Sunrise. Appreciate that. Vienticus Prime, everything's a scam, everything's a lie. Sometimes an upgrade just means that your shit will fry. Thank you. Yes, Vienticus. I do have to call them to make sure of that. Bonzo Beans, need help. Where can I purchase Maduro red gangster shoes? There you go. Thank you, Bonzo Beans. Kevin G, emerging research suggests that even human cigarettes cause cancer. Surgeon General will be issuing a warning. Thank you, Kevin. Vienticus Prime says the biggest clue of how Americans are the most propagandized people on earth is how Americans throughout the past century were more likely to own a TV and radio per capita than others. Yeah, that's a good point. All the good music anymore comes from video game composers. Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, Cuphead, Trine, Electronic, Superjoy, and so on. Then you got the greats like Koji Kondo, the Japanese, Nubo, Umetsu, etc. Thank you, Vienticus. Appreciate that, and you're probably right about that. Ham Hog, thanks for the $10. Heard a bullion heist happened behind the scene in Venezuela. Silver and gold meant for China, but haven't seen it expanded on. Bon voyage, Russ. I'm jealous.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stoop Signs says Tulsi Gabbard has said similar things to Andrew Tate. Gabbard, with these terror cells, for example, yes, I still believe that the right approach to take these quick strike forces, surgical strikes. Yes, she has. Yes, she has. That's true, Stoop Sign. Thank you. Okay, got some super chats over there.
We sure do. Xander Vorkov, further comments from Lindsey Graham on Iran. Girlfriend, those outfits worn by the Ayatollah are so last century, boo.
Good one.
Money's worth there. And TerraBang 5000, FWIW, Celine Dion's Christmas album is good.
Yeah.
I mean, she could sing. You know, she does. Yeah. She's like Liza Minnelli. She has appeal to that community. What can I tell you? Sammy, 1973, $10 from Denmark. Thank you. We're coming for you next, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's
better
right.
save that money. Better save that money. We're gonna come take your shit. You heard the man.
Yeah.
Larry Coldwater, 1964. The MAGA delusion is that America is the underdog. Yeah, well, the MAGA delusion is that white male Americans specifically are the underdog.
Yeah.
Truth Seeker for $50.
Thank you, Truth Seeker.
It's beginning to look like Delcy Rodriguez was cooperating with Trump to gain power and sacrifice Maduro to get on top. If so, no matter how illegal and immoral this was, Trump is a far more competent and successful neocon than anyone else before. I asked Max about that because he interviewed her 4 years ago, and her father was imprisoned and tortured to death under the CIA-trained regime that preceded the Chavez revolution there. And I asked him that, she's on the one hand, she's talking about how Maduro's the leader, and she's talking about how the operation was backed by Zionists, or implying that. And on the other hand, they're talking like they're very comfortable with her. They're very happy with her. A lot of people think she set him up. And, he said, it's possible. It's possible. We both agreed. I mean, I framed it as, hey, who could blame her? Her father was tortured to death, right? She doesn't want to wind up with the wraparound sunglasses and the headphones on a plane. She's trying to keep the United States, in other words, I wouldn't vilify her. She's trying to keep the United States from invading her country and doing to her and others what was done to her father.
Right.
And that might indeed be the case, but I don't think it's as villainous as it might be under other circumstances. I think she's in a position that none of us would want to be in, right? Eric Torres, I was playing City Skylines last night and found oil under my region. Suddenly, my computer shut off and I was arrested for narco-terrorism. Yeah, they're going to put that in now. Richard Pemberton, you guys convinced me 70% to change how I see the Somali situation, but it took the idiot rants of dry drunk Kern to get me 100% with you guys. Woo!
There we go.
Kern's moved on to praising Maduro's kidnapping. I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
I do not doubt it at all.
Well, we'll get you a bonus 10% of the way there with our segment today.
Yes. I no, really, in all seriousness, that is so awesome to hear that you changed a mind. I mean, that's really what you do it for, right? I mean, it's that and to watch the Chuds meltdown. I'm not
Yeah.
Vito P, 1959. It's Vito. Happy trails to Russell Pizza Dobular. Go forth and spread the word of dissidence. Cancer sucks. You all rock. No, you rock, Vito. Thank you.
You rock, Vito.
We got a lot backed up here, so let me just do a couple more.
Good.
Alex Rosinski. Oh, man, there is so much amazing music right now. I've been a metalhead for 35 years, but some of my absolute favorite music is being made right now. Yeah.
All right. All right. Take some.
Hey, man, I'm not an expert. I could tell you pop music is awful now.
It's
that's probably not what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I see. The thing about starting in '86, the year I was born, and counting down the top 5, it gives me like 6 months to get acquainted with the newer stuff before I have to talk about it.
Before you have to get into
Right,
that,
because I've always liked older music in general, 70s, 80s, 60s and stuff. But yeah, and there have been great albums that have come out in the last 10 years and some great artists. Like there've been some. I'm not saying it's a total desert, but like there's no like you look at these lists of albums that came out in the 70s. Like one of the series I started was just doing a 1976 50th anniversary retrospective. I mean, just in that year alone, I mean, you got Bob Dylan, you got Stevie Wonder, you got David Bowie, you got Steely Dan, it goes on and on and on. The amount of great stuff that came out here, you're lucky if 10 great things come out in a year.
Well, this is why, like, hey man, I got an open mind. Like, I understand that there's a generational tendency to reject what the kids like, but there's also a historical tendency towards enshittification of societies.
Right.
And societies do have golden ages and golden periods where when you look back, everyone says, wow, that was a high point. No one's interested in the point in between, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think in this particular case, I can safely say it's not a generational bias, man. Not in this case. It's the enshittification of society on every level. It's the corporatization of art. Like if you grew up with the popular music where these people were legendary. When I was growing up, David Bowie was putting out new music, hit music. And then you're going to listen to girls.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Girls.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. You can't tell me that's generational. It's
no, and a lot of it is the economic incentive. Like one thing that streaming has done is it has made good music harder to find because you don't get rich selling albums anymore unless you can sell 20 million of them. Unless you're like Taylor Swift, right? So there's less stuff that they're going to mass market to people because since recording is just not as profitable as it was in the 60s and 70s, where at one point they had to stop making records because there was a physical supply shortage. That's how much they were in demand, right?
Wow.
Whereas now these artists make like nickels and dimes on Spotify. You make nothing. So that means there's very little stuff that gets mass marketed, and then you have to really dig around for everything else. And I just haven't done the digging in recent years, but I'll start now. All right, cool. All right, let's keep going. Sorry, didn't mean to.
It's all right.
Monologue.
It's all right. It's part of the charm of the show, I think.
There we go. Yes.
Except for people who hate us.
Except for
it's the reason they hate us.
Right.
John Smith. Andrew's still mad. He got his ass kicked. Who kicked his ass? Who kicked his ass? I guess you mean in his professional life there. Michael Mike, the Russian bot. Andrew Tate's plan for U.S. B. Ken Rex McElroy with same end result. Do you get that? Do you get that? I don't know who that is.
Well, I'll take a look. What is it?
Ken Rex McElroy?
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Assenider 04. I'm starting to think that Dawn dish soap had a hand in causing some of those oil spills. They've been living off their duct cleaning ads for 20 years. It's very true. All right, one more. We'll move on. Turk Yurdu. Trump and fascists taking upper 45. Germany left. Not to get on another long tangent, but if you really look at it, I've always thought that fascism is neo-monarchy. It was a modern way of restoring a very old form of government. You had only recently had these democratic reforms, democratic movements. I think fascism was always an attempt to return to some form of monarchy. It's not coincidental that these fruitcakes like Curtis Yarvin want a kind of modern CEO monarch kind of a figure. It's inherent to the whole fascist concept of society. These guys, it's just going full fascist is just inherent in their whole governing philosophy. Like, it's not an accident that they sound like Romans. If you really look at what the Roman Empire was, it was fascist. It was a fascist society, right? We're Romans, and we're going to take what you have because we're Romans, and we have a God emperor who we follow.
Right. All right, let's move right on. All right, this is a kind of a funny one.
All right. So Hegseth has backed down from threatening a court-martial. I guess somebody convinced him that's not going to go well for him. He put down the Jack Daniels long enough to figure that out, but he's still censuring him. Hegseth censures Senator Mark Kelly, backs down from court-martial. This from USA Today. Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth has backed down from previous threats to court-martial retired Navy Captain Senator Mark Kelly, Democrat, Arizona, for his role in a video telling service members they can refuse illegal orders. Hegseth instead issued a formal censure to Kelly, the defense secretary announced on X, and has initiated proceedings aiming to demote Kelly in retirement. The senator did not immediately return a request for comment sent to his staff. But demoting Kelly requires an administrative process known as officer grade determination, which by law makes its decisions based on an officer's conduct while on active duty. It's not clear how the board can legally consider Kelly's post-retirement conduct when making its decision. Hegseth, however, seemingly suggested that the board's results are preordained, calling the senator Captain for Now Kelly in his post announcing the administrative move.
Mm-hmm.
This is dead on arrival. This is ludicrous, said Gene Fidel, a former Coast Guard lawyer who teaches military law at Yale Law School. This administration, including the Department of Defense, is out of control, he said. So here's Secretary Whiskey Dick's tweet in part. 6 weeks ago, Senator Mark Kelly and 5 other members of Congress released a reckless and seditious video that was clearly intended to undermine good order and military discipline. As a retired Navy captain who is still receiving a military pension, Captain Kelly knows he is still accountable to military justice. No, he fucking is not. No, he's not. Not in that regard.
He should be in the brig.
He should be in the brig. Yeah, that's Walter's take, right?
They should hang him. That's what they used to do. They used to hang him.
He's like,
that's an interesting point.
Yeah. Who did they hang again? Who did they hang? Captain Kelly knows he is still accountable to military justice, and the Department of War and the American people expect justice. Oh, yeah. People are behind you on this one.
Yeah.
Therefore, in response to Senator Mark Kelly's seditious statements and his pattern of reckless misconduct, the Department of War is taking administrative action against Captain Mark E. Kelly, U.S. Navy retired. The department has initiated retirement grade determination proceedings under blah, 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 with reduction in his retired grade resulting in a corresponding reduction in retired pay. To ensure this action, the Secretary of War has also issued a formal letter of censure, which outlines the totality of Captain, for now, Kelly's reckless misconduct. This censure is a necessary process step and will be placed in Captain Kelly's official and permanent military personnel file. Oh, it's going to go on his permanent record. So, yo, man, it's hard out here for a pimp. You know, these MAGA grifters, they're really being tested in what they can sell and go along with without their followers just deciding to cut them off completely. Cernovich, he wanted Delta Force to refuse to do the Maduro raid. No other way to see it. Yeah, well, with 33% of Americans supporting it, I could see why you think that's a winning argument. Ian Miles Chong, he called for sedition. He should be jailed. Motherfucker, you guys are traitors to this country. You make your living blowing smoke up the asses of anyone in power who's willing to pay you, probably through a third party like Influenceable, to create division and false narratives and to lie to people.
Yeah, was he a Miles Strong, a
are a
soda
traitor
gator?
to the country.
Was he a soda gator? I think he was.
He was one of them, wasn't he?
I think so.
It was not Jerome Powell. It was Eric Doherty. It was Clown World. Yeah, and I think he was the
I'm
fourth.
pretty sure he was
I
one
think
of
you're
them.
right. He was the fourth.
Like 90% sure, yeah. You know who wasn't? Michael Savage.
Michael Savage was not in Sodagate. Listen,
the GOAT
man,
speaks.
His politics are not ours, but we kind of love him.
Yeah.
He has 2 sound drops on our soundboard. That is a very rare honor. So here's Michael Savage in his inimitable fashion. Keaton clipped this from a longer segment on his YouTube, responding to this.
Defending Mark Kelly.
I, as a diehard borders language culture conservative, think this is disgusting. And to target Senator Kelly's rank over this is a new low for the Pentagon. All of you who are saying he's not a good guy, you are not fit to wipe his dog's shit off the street. You flew combat missions? You were an astronaut? All you city idiots sitting there in your chairs? What the hell is wrong with you people? Have you lost your brains because they said MAGA to you? What, you become just sheep? For years, I used to say sheeple, sheeple, sheeple. Let me tell you something. Anyone who goes MAGA, the minute they lift their hand, you're the sheeple now. You've lost your perspective. He didn't disobey orders. He said do not follow illegal orders. He didn't say do not follow orders. Conduct unbecoming an officer. Cutting his pension. A formal censure in his file. An American hero like this. This is sickening. Wake up, people. We're going down into a rat hole we'll never come out of if we do not stand up to this insane, petty behavior by the Pentagon. I'm 100% right on this. And those of you who are saluting Hegseth on this should have your heads examined and get your heads out of your asses.
And that's it. That's him ending the live stream, by the way. When he reaches for the mouse, that's it. That's all I had. No sign off. That's all.
I'm sorry, man. That's a master of the craft.
Oh, yeah.
That is a master of the craft. He is the GOAT.
Greatest content creator of all time. You know, he started in the 70s because this whole technology, you know, came into fashion when he was already an older man. If he were in his prime now, if he were in his 50s and this got started, forget about it. Forget about it.
Yeah. But hey, the Cernovich and Ian Miles Chong thing, that was all I saw, man. Like, a lot of them are staying away from this because it's just, look, you got a drunken Secretary of Defense who was a Fox News host without meaningful military background for somebody in that position, calling out a guy who has been in combat, who was an astronaut, who is, look, I don't take away from somebody who has done that. Obviously, I have a skepticism about the way that the career of somebody like Mark Kelly is used to convince people to go sign up and get killed in pointless wars. So the whole like celebrating our military heroes, I try not to do that while not attacking a figure like Mark Kelly. Right. So I don't want to turn this into our brave soldiers. But yeah, Trump's base are the people who buy into all that. And there's just too many contradictions here. You got draft dodger Trump, and you got drunken Pete Hegseth going after a guy like this who has the kind of resume that the MAGA people are supposed to respect so much. It's not a good look for them. So Kelly responded, over 25 years in the U.S. Navy, 39 combat missions, and 4 missions to space, I risked my life for this country and to defend our Constitution, including the First Amendment rights of every American to speak out. I never expected that the President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense would attack me for doing exactly that. My rank and retirement are things that I earned through my service and sacrifice for this country. I got shot at. I missed holidays and birthdays. I commanded a space shuttle mission while my wife Gabby recovered from a gunshot wound to the head, all while proudly wearing the American flag on my shoulder. Generations of service members have made these same patriotic sacrifices for this country, earning the respect, appreciation, and rank they deserve. Pete Hegseth wants to send the message to every single retired service member that if they say something he or Donald Trump doesn't like, they will come after them the same way. Exactly. That's exactly what it's about. It's what a lot of what they do is about. It's about silencing people and intimidating them. It's outrageous and it is wrong. There is nothing more un-American than that. If Pete Hegseth, the most unqualified Secretary of Defense in our country's history, thinks he can intimidate me with a censure or threats to demote me or prosecute me, he still doesn't get it. I will fight this with everything I've got, not for myself, but to send a message back that Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump don't get to decide what Americans in this country get to say about their government. Yeah, who do you think's winning that argument? But hey, you know, there was a guy, an inebriated guy who took a break from assaulting women in hotel rooms to offer his opinion about whether soldiers should follow illegal orders. And funny enough, he was responding to something that Trump said.
They're not going to refuse me, believe me.
Military leaders saying you could not possibly kill the families of would-be terrorists, and they would not follow the order. And his answer, Donald Trump's answer on what if the generals won't listen to you when you say take out the families? Oh, they'll listen. That's really not the answer.
No, I got some response from vets on that saying you're not just going to follow that order if it's unlawful.
Go ahead and kill the families. Go ahead and torture. Go ahead and go further than waterboarding. What happens when people follow those orders or don't follow them? It's not clear that Donald Trump will have their back. Donald Trump is oftentimes about Donald Trump. And so if you're not changing the law and you're just saying it, you create even more ambiguity.
The military's not even going to follow his orders.
The military's not going to follow illegal orders. And so the Trump campaign was forced to change their position and say, we're going to try to change the law so that the military can operate within the law. That's a tall order also.
There are some guys at Leavenworth who made really bad choices on the battlefield. And I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. There's a standard, there's an ethos, there's a belief that we are above what so many things that our enemies or others would do.
Wow. You know, it's kind of like when you go back and you see Rubio talking about how terrible it's going to be for the country if people start following Donald Trump. He's responding directly to Donald Trump's assertion that the troops will follow his orders, directly contradicting him. No one should follow illegal orders. But now, yeah, different story. Maybe he should be demoted and have his pay cut. Cuck turd. Mark Kelly served America in space and the skies for 25 years. Traitor Donald Trump dodged the draft and stared at the sun. Pete Hegseth drank and assaulted women in between serving 1 weekend a month and 1 month a year. Yeah, again, is this really something you want to get into, given your own service record, going up against a guy who by most people's standards is an American hero? Is this a fight you really want to pick if you're a drunk, if you're basically a drunk joke who got installed as Secretary of Defense because nobody worried about winding up in The Hague would take that job? Are you saying Pete Hegseth, does anyone want chips? Are you saying Pete Hegseth, the drunken ex-Fox Weekend co-host who risked the lives of our military by posting war plans on Signal, has the nerve to demote the rank and reduce the military pension of 25-year decorated Navy combat vet Mark Kelly for speaking the truth? Hell no. And this is something people should keep in mind these days. Seems like a good day to remind everyone that I was only following orders was rejected as a defense at the Nuremberg trials. Carly Kingsley. Yeah. It's just one more demonstration of what weak men these are. When you're really confident, you don't feel a need to make these kinds of petty gestures against critics. That doesn't signal strength. That signals weakness. And again, yeah, I saw a couple of the grifter accounts jump on there. Not many. Mark Kelly is a very difficult guy to paint as an Elizabeth Warren. It's very, very difficult to give him the lib work over. You can't Mike Waltz a guy who's been to space and has flown combat missions. And when you look at their own record, all that's doing is shining a spotlight on them and their own service records that is not very flattering.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you meant Tim Walz. Mike Walz was the Trump guy.
Oh, yeah.
Tim Walz is the Minnesota guy. Yeah. No, but that's what I mean. Yeah, they did the live makeover on him. No, Mark Kelly. I mean, this is why Obama wanted him to be the nominee. He probably would have won if they installed him. And yeah, I mean, it's just a mismatch.
I still got it.
Yeah, exactly.
I told you.
Yeah, it's just a mismatch.
Kinfolk ain't kinfolk. Not around this house.
That's right. Yeah, just a mismatch in optics on every level. Which is why you don't see much made of this. Not to mention the fact that the administration pulled the National Guard out of a small handful of cities recently after the Supreme Court, I think, blocked them from deploying National Guard troops to Chicago. And that's what this whole thing was about in the first place. So, yeah, no, it's just completely incoherent. It's completely rudderless. But, yeah, their only play is to bully people into not saying anything about them, into not speaking out. I mean, that's it. That's really it.
Well, and if you want to look at it on a strategic level, when you look at what's really been revealed in the wake of Venezuela about what they're planning, they need people to follow a lot of illegal orders. They can't have this illegal orders talk going around if they plan on knocking off Cuba, knocking off Colombia next. God knows who else.
Well, that's the thing. It's also a tip of the hand that you're going to be issuing a lot of illegal orders. Right. Yeah, for sure. There's that too. All right. Let's pause for a brief word from The Grifter's Bible, which is a novel by El Shabooms in video form. It's a free weekly series on YouTube. Follow the First Electric Church of Jesus Christ as they combine the bleeding edge of Black patented neuroscience with state-of-the-art in Michigas to beat the Great Recession. They sell visions of God to the huddled masses of Deep Ellum, Texas, and the money pours in until the local competition, the police, and the U.S. Navy decide to put a stop to it. There's ass whoopings, car chases, and a showdown at Good Friday in Dodge City. It's a sci-fi noir. It's a picaresque thriller. It's a Western from 10 minutes in the future. It's called The Grifter's Bible. It's a film series by El Shabooms with a soundtrack by Monumental Sonic Architecture. New episodes are posted every Monday at youtube.com/@ El Shaboom. So please do go and check it out. Okay, let's take some Rumble rants here. Vientica say it's all the same with these people. It's all a contest to see who can get their tongues up the Hershey Highway at the furthest, nothing more. That's their principle. It's always on full display. I wouldn't say this is Revenge of the Nerds. It's not even Revenge of the Sith. It's Revenge of the Shit. That's right. Thank you, Vienticus. You know what else is governed by strength, force, and power? A black hole. Everything relates. That's right. Aggressively lazy. What do you want Greenland for? Come to Norway. We've got oil. That's right. That's right. You do got oil.
That'll be next.
Yeah. Yes, societies do have golden ages and golden periods. Right now, it's a golden shower. Thank you, Vienna. Stoop sign. Lord and Grimes are some good pop, but they are more considered alt pop. Fantagram is awesome, like a modern Portishead. Thank you, Stoop sign. Vienticus Prime. FYI, recent albums by Duran Duran and Megadeth were notable. Thank you.
Were they?
Megadeth has another one coming out soon, I think, this year.
Duran Duran's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, Duran Duran's fun. Have enjoyed your music podcast so far, Keaton. Well, thank you. A more recent favorite band of mine is Pearl and the Oysters. They are pop, but their keyboard players study jazz, so they're definitely cut above. Thank you. I will check that out. Appreciate it. Another good source for music, obviously electronic music, is the Amiga demo scene. I've not heard of that. Thank you, Vienticus. Chadwick's Racing said, yesterday I joined a conversation with the so-called MAGA people, and you could guess they were all for taking down Maduro to stop the drugs. Yeah, that's not surprising. All right. Why don't we take some super chats?
Okay. Hobo Jesus. Shapiro reporting live from the closet.
Yeah.
I don't
there you
know,
go.
man. He's got a whole mess of kids.
He does.
Skyman. This isn't revenge of the nerds. It's the revenge of the mediocre, spoiled, and low-functioning sociopaths.
Yeah.
Nerds actually have skills. Well, they have skills getting the government to give them money for defense contracts.
That's right.
These losers can only rage due to their own impotence. I mean, look, they're building our prison, so they're doing something right in an evil, devious way. Oven the King. These assholes are going to get us killed. That is what I'm afraid of, my friend. Heavy Snack. Ben's denial of international law highlights the difference between Jews and Zionists. His kippah must be on too tight. Free Palestine. P.S. You know, a lot of people point out that he kind of has it both ways. He wears the black kippah that blends in.
Right.
So it's not obvious he's wearing one.
Right.
You want to do that pride, man. Get that neon kippah.
Now, Randy Fine wears the big blue and white.
He
kippah,
makes
you know?
it very clear he's wearing
Mhm.
one. Worst skill. Nerd question. Have we always been the Harkonnens, or are we more like the Atreides, Fremen, and Dune Messiah? I would say I mean, that's part of the message of Dune, right? Like, you start out the Fremen, but you end up that way. You end up
Right.
an overweening imperial force. So I would say you could argue in the revolution, we were like the Fremen, right? Because we were the underdogs who fought a guerrilla war and fought off an empire. But we're clearly the fat, depraved Harkonnens now. Gizigme. Chavez exposed years ago that the Pentagon branded him as a narco so they could get rid of him. Thank you for staying true to your moral compass. Yeah, I almost played that video with Max last night, but I didn't want to drag out the segment. I know he has a newborn there to get back to. I wanted to keep it moving. Burning the land. Maduro is using a Mandela strategy. He has Assange's attorney, and his wife is the person who got Chavez free from jail. Look at the protests in support. Revolutionaries become stronger than in jail. Yeah, well, I know there were protests here in New York at his arraignment. I got into this a little bit with Max. The case is so weak. And, you know, Max's article just dropped on this, if you want to check it out at the Gray Zone. It's such a weak case. Does it just get thrown out in court? Like, I don't see how you even go forward with a case like this if the judge isn't bought. And I don't know, man, was the judge 95 or some shit?
93, yeah.
93. I mean, you know, he's close enough to the end of his life that why would he sell out? For what?
Right.
For what? You don't have any time left to spend it. Burning the land. Look at Maduro's behavior. He is calm, and Venezuela remains under Chavista control. He knows what he is doing. I mean, this is something else Max pointed out. You know, Trump talks a lot of shit. Like, he talks like, yeah, we're gonna sell the oil. We got the oil. But there's no occupying ground force. There's no. Max said it would take years for them to go in there and rebuild the oil. And in order to do that, they'd have to occupy the country, which they're not doing. So what are we really talking about here? You kidnapped Maduro. That's what we're really talking about. Logically dashing. Listen to Kneecap, Keaton.
No, I should. You know, I haven't even. It's a good reminder. We've covered them before, but we haven't.
Quite a lot.
Listened to them. Yeah.
Cryosynth. Russell, I wish you a safe and wondrous journey across our pale blue dot. Happy trails to you. Thank you so much. All right. So why don't we move on?
All right. Let's move on to CBS.
To CBS. Okay. So the origin of the term hubris, it actually comes from Greek tragedy. In Greek tragedy, it is excessive pride toward or defiance of the gods, leading to retribution or nemesis. So a good example of hubris in action would be right before you do your first appearance as the anchor of CBS to talk about how you're going to do a better job than the most legendary figure who ever did that job. I grew up on Cronkite. Too bad CBS has lost its Tiffany shine, but good luck to you anyway. This was to Tony Dokoupil, to which he responded, what did you love most about him? I can promise you we'll be more accountable and more transparent than Cronkite or anyone else of his era. Okay, so hey, you didn't know you were going to get a little lesson in Greek tragedy today, but here it goes. Here's how hubris works.
Big moment.
With Maduro now out, that base of power and influence could be out too. All right, to other news, as you just heard from Jill. Well, to other news now, to Governor Walz. No, we're going to do Mark Kelly. First day, big problems here. Are we going to Kelly here, or are we going to go to Jonah Kaplan?
Keep reading. Don't stop. Rule number 1. Go, go, go.
We're doing Mark Kelly, possibly demoted from his retired rank of captain in the Navy. Hegseth issued what's known as a letter of censure for the Arizona Democrat over his participation in a video that called on service members to defy illegal orders without specifying which orders he had in mind. Hegseth called what the former combat pilot and astronaut did an act of sedition. Now we go to Minnesota.
Hold on, I just have to play it because it's so funny how, because he didn't keep up and was, he spent all this time being like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
He was really behind, so they had to leave this still frame of Hegseth up
Right,
for this awkward length of
for
time
him to catch up.
to give him enough time to do what he was supposed to do.
Right. I mean, why don't they pay us to do this job?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I mean, we seem to have better chops than this guy. That is the benefit of getting the circumcision as a baby. They say if you get an adult circumcision, it can cause brain damage.
It can cause neurological imbalance if you have it later in life.
It can actually, very often, there are brain worms in the scalpel that the mohel uses, but on babies they have special antibodies. That's what the ancient Hebrews knew. But if a goy comes and gets one as an adult, a lot of times your dick will fall off.
An astronaut did an act of sedition. Now we go to Minnesota. A surprise announcement from the Great Lake State there today. Tim Walz, the 2024 Democratic vice presidential nominee, ended.
There we go.
All right, so that's hubris in action, folks. I'm gonna be better than Cronkite. Can't even handle the on-air appearance for the very first time without dead air and losing it in front of the audience, which is something you never do. If you're doing this kind of a gig, you roll with it. You don't draw attention to it. He did the worst thing you could do. He drew attention to it and was palpably nervous about it.
Right.
Look, if all else fails, audiences will roll with whatever you're projecting. If you're not sweating, they won't sweat. If you sweat, they'll react. Worst case scenario, everything's messed up. Folks, we need to just take a moment. It is the first day, but he clearly was thrown by it.
Or you could do even being an asshole comes off better than that, which is like nervous trepidation.
Right.
Like you could do a O'Reilly, fucking dick sucks. What the fuck is going on here?
Well, for the audience they're trying to get, that probably would have been the best move he could have made. For the audience thereafter. Ryan Grimm, affirmative action for guys who are scared of Ta-Nehisi Coates isn't working out so well. No, it's not. CBS, one of the better memes I saw on this.
Yeah.
And hey, a little more hubris here. Jeremy Barr, who just wrote a profile about Barry Weiss's first 3 months in the job. I'm told Barry Weiss was in the newsroom tonight for Tony Dokoupil's official evening news launch. I'm sure that went real well. So Variety did a little piece on this. I like Dokoupil better. I hate saying his name properly, honestly. Dokoupil's CBS Evening News debut is an inauspicious sign of where CBS News is headed. He points out a couple of interesting points here. Tony Dokoupil's debut as the anchor of the CBS Evening News came widely heralded. by Tony Dokoupil. The broadcast journalist who since 2019 had been CBS's morning show co-anchor came into the seat once held by Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather, and Katie Couric with plenty of attitude, saying in a recent social media comment that he would be, quote, more accountable and more transparent than had been legendary anchor Cronkite. And on New Year's Day, sharing a video in which he declared his broadcast had often missed the story by privileging the perspective of advocates and not the average American. All of which conveniently mirrored the career-long attitude of Dokoupil's new boss, Barry Weiss, the opinion journalist brought in last year as CBS News' editor-in-chief by new Paramount leader David Ellison, has long evinced a relentless focus on presenting her perspective as that of the common man, no matter how many of her fellow Sun Valley attendees may coincidentally share it. Exactly. She's got the Batya Unger Sargon Act, right? This is this very wealthy, privileged person pretending that they speak for common people. And really, this is a new version of an old trick. That's what I said when I went to the douchebag dialogues. This is just old neoconservatism with a tech pro paint job on it. Thomas Frank's classic book, What's the Matter with Kansas, is all about this. It's all about these rich elites like George W. Bush passing themselves off as of the people in order to sell rich people's agenda to them as culture war slop. That's exactly what she is. And if anyone doesn't know, private jets touch down in Sun Valley for billionaire summer camp. There's an annual Sun Valley conference where a lot of deal making is done. And Barry Weiss has been a frequent attendee and a lot of these conferences. This is how she's gotten this VC capital for her failed newsletter. And that's part of how she networked with the Ellisons. This is somebody who's coming out to tell you, I know what America thinks. Or as Zaid Jilani put it, Tony Dokoupil of Gulliver Preparatory School, Columbia University, and George Washington University, installed by Barry Weiss, Columbia University, and David Ellison, billionaire, will translate average Americans to you. Exactly. Well said, Mr. Jilani. The Independent wrote what looks like a pretty prophetic article ahead of Dokoupil's premiere. They're calling it the most 80 IQ media property reboot of all time. This is from The Independent. Private jets, armed security, and Barry pitches, including jet skiing with DJ Khaled. Inside Weiss's chaotic CBS evening news reboot. The kids are lining up to see that show. According to 3 sources with knowledge of the matter, Weiss is planning on chartering a private plane to fly the team for each location for the Live from America tour this month, taking Dokoupil and CBS Evening News executive producer Kim Harvey on the flights. That potential additional expense comes after the news network laid off roughly 100 employees and is preparing for more crippling cost cuts from owner David Ellison and Paramount. It also seems to fly in the face of Dokoupil's anti-elite mission statement for the show, according to sources who spoke to The Independent. Quote, nothing says meeting Americans where they are by flying around the country on a private jet costing millions of dollars, one network staffer said. And if her security detail is such a huge concern, why is she going? She could watch from the control room or on an actual TV like everyone else, the source added. Instead, CBS News has to foot the bill for her 5 security guards, private jet, and more guards with heavy weapons. Does she not understand how much journalism could be made with the money we're spending instead of spending it on perks for her? As Weiss has continued to propose last-minute changes to the logistics for the Live from America tour for the show, which has included her own pitches and demands for location changes, Staffers on the show have grown increasingly concerned that the relaunch will be a car crash. Nailed it. The plummeting morale on the show, according to sources, has landed at the feet of Harvey. Quote, she is a yes person that is not just drinking the Barry Kool-Aid, but like injecting it in her veins because that's how she survives, one network insider noted. Sounds like she's a toady. She's a Barry toady.
Barry
Should
toady.
use that word on her. God knows she doesn't know what it means. So here's their attempt to clean it up. Okay, so you know what we're going to do? We're going to brand that as part of our rebrand. We're going to go out there and transparently admit that things transparently went completely off the rails, and they're going to love it. People are going to love it.
Of the CBS Evening News was not day one of a 10-day road trip live from San Francisco. It was instead a Saturday live show based on what could be a decade-defining capture of Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro. We're a news show. I think that is actually a better launch than anything else we could have come up with. The road sometimes rises to meet you, and after all, we cover the news, and this was news.
Wow, that was so refreshingly honest and straightforward, and I really love the way they didn't dress it up. You know, he just looks like a real person. He looks like a real person. I
We
love
can
it.
trust these people, finally.
Finally, people we can trust. So one response here, Don Winslow. I can just imagine Barry Weiss sitting there and thinking she's going to reinvent news and being so full of herself that she thought it was a great idea for her unqualified and unprepared new anchor to shit on the legacy of Walter Cronkite before he even sat in the anchor chair. Yeah, you probably don't want to go there, right? You want to win over what audience CBS has. It's not the way you want to go. Talking about how you're going to be better than Walter Cronkite.
Yeah. It's like the guy Matt Harvey, pitcher for the Mets. Baseball fans will remember him. When he was getting real popular, he came out and said, I want to be the guy who bangs more chicks than Derek Jeter. Yeah, that's a good way to ingratiate yourself to the New York fans. Yeah.
Yes. But hey, not everyone disliked it. Here's Dave Bondi. This is great. Getting a real human moment from a journalist. That's what I do on my social media and my content. If more networks could just be real, it would be a lot better. So I checked out his content. How's it doing? Oh, was that 436 views on that? Well, hey, I could see why you admire Barry Weiss, because she gets about the same kind of views on her free press newsletter and YouTube show. As we have demonstrated in the past, we generally do better than the free press, and nobody knows who the fuck we are. Yeah. We're not getting constant coverage in the media every time we blow our nose. That is how repulsive the product that she puts out is. And YouTube is much more fertile ground for the charismatic conversations from Alan Dershowitz that she thinks are going to save CBS than CBS is. There is no audience for this. As he points out, actually, in another spot in the Variety article, anybody who wants the kind of glazing interview that Dokoupil did with Hegseth, first of all, I'm just so glad that our troops are okay, and just no challenging questions, nothing about the legality of the action, just complete state TV interview. They got Fox, they got Newsmax, they've got plenty of options for people who want that. The people who were into CBS, it was kind of living in some way off of that legacy of Edward R. Murrow and Walter Cronkite. 60 Minutes still had some of that sheen for a certain kind of lib audience member that was watching it. The idea that you're going to pull over people who are perfectly happy at Fox News and Newsmax by making a show that's even more transparently servile to the state than what you would get over there, and you're going to sell that with Mr. Adult Circumcision, It's ridiculous. Like who's the audience? This whole network is just going to crash and burn. But I covered this a little bit with Kurt last night. And hey, do they care? As long as they are controlling the means of communication, you know what that means? Somebody who might offer news isn't controlling it. Do they really care if they lose money? Jeff Bezos was the pioneer here, where he went and bought the Washington Post as a tool of propaganda and as a means of access in Washington, a place where obviously he has a lot of lobbying interests. As news and news gathering and this format in particular became unprofitable, the oligarchs moved in and started buying up these outlets as a means of spreading propaganda and shutting down legitimate conversation and debate. And for them, they don't need it to be profitable. The common denominator is they all make their money another way. So for them, this is like an extension of their lobbying budget. It's just a cost of doing business.
Yeah, and what's so irritating about Barry Weiss, I posted something to the effect of, obviously, the worst thing about her is that she's a, fanatical Zionist. But the second worst thing about her is this sort of arrogant, self-satisfied, pseudo-intellectual, oh, look at me in the newsroom kind of arrogance. Like, you're giving people a peek behind the curtain at a process that they're not particularly interested in. People who watch CBS News want the news. It's a pretty old profession. It's been done very well for a long time. The fact that you're the new kid on the block who doesn't know what she's doing is not like a fun, cute thing for people to look at. Hey, we were going to do this on day one, but you know what? The big news story broke, and so we decided to do that instead. Who cares? Nobody cares. She's like a little kid who like wants the grown-ups to observe her doing something impressive. That's the way she acts. Like, no one gives a shit. We don't need you to explain to us how you're doing what you're doing. The only reason you find that impressive is because you're not all that good at it, which she's obviously pretty awful at it. And so yeah, the whole thing is just so bizarre. It's really a strange thing to watch. Like this professional woman who's been, bought out for $200 million now sort of like lecture us along the way of learning how to be the editor-in-chief of CBS News. We understand you don't trust us anymore. Well, they actually, like 60 Minutes was one of the very few like mainstream media institutions that had a modicum of credibility before you torched it. They killed another story, by the way. They killed an Epstein story. So that two out of four CBS
is that
specials?
True? Is that true? Because I didn't report on it because I saw some people say there was no evidence that it came from like a Redditor.
Oh, all right. Well,
and I haven't seen any articles about it, so I'm assuming that's probably true.
All right. So
because you would see a bunch of articles about it.
That could be. But obviously the CCOT story was a massive scandal, and now this disastrous launch here.
Well, what's really remarkable about Barry Weiss is the level of incompetence, because hey, she started a douchebag dialogues oriented, let's hear what Richard Dawkins thinks about comedy kind of a thing during the period when you had the absolute best chance of success for something like that, before the mask came off post October 7th, and you saw these Douglas Murray types were foaming at the mouth Zionists. Like, she started that at the perfect moment when these people still had credibility as defenders of the elements of Western civilization that most people would agree on, traditions of free speech and open debate, before that was all proven to be a sham. And it still was never successful with readership and viewership. That is how awful she is at this job. She was in the exact moment where something like that should have done well, and she marketed it in the exact right places, Substack and YouTube. And it's still, I mean, you could see the numbers. You put that person in charge of CBS, like that's going to do better there.
Yeah.
Insane
indeed. 807 likes. And 2,078 in the YouTube chat. All right, we'll take some Rumble rants here. Nocturnal Human says, MAGA has to be the third spot on the soundboard. Yeah, we should put that third time.
We should put that on, yeah.
That's good. Pentagon is going to be downgraded to the rhombus if Savage has his way. Good one, Stoop Sign. Chadwick's Racing, thanks for the $5. I then asked him if it was about the drugs, then why didn't we bomb any drugs operations? They had nothing. Sigh. Yeah, it's a pretty sad scene over there. What the military did in Venezuela was illegal. Arrest them all, says Nocturnal Human. Abiding says Corn Pop once recruited from Venezuela for his stable a woman who would do a trick with ping pong balls. Thank you. Abiding. Eric Rousseau says Ben Shapiro's fuck face must be scary. No wonder he can't get his old lady off. Good one, Eric Rousseau. All right, you got some super chats.
That's the rumor. That's the rumor. Richard Pemberton, thanks for your kindness's remarks in response to my chat, letting you know now how you changed my mind about the Somali situation. Actually, you're 100% why, but I couldn't stand agreeing with Kern.
That's coming up next.
Michael Mike, the Russian bot. Ben Shapiro, UCMJ is imaginary. Who's going to enforce it? What is that? UCMJ.
UCMJ, I'm not sure.
Yeah, look that up while I do this. I'm curious now. Scam bankster fraud. The only qualification to be Secretary of Defense is psychopathy. Yeah, used to require a modicum of competence too.
Uniform Code of Military Justice.
There we go. Of course. Virtuoso. Ever notice how Ben Shapiro's kippa keeps getting bigger? I'm estimating that by 2029, Ben is going to be wearing a pizza umbrella.
Good one.
Recycled Psyche. Check out Mission Souls, a Philippine family band that covers 70s music. They're totally awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, that sounds kind of interesting. And Emoji, friend in Bogota, tells me this coup will likely hurt the leftist candidate's chances in presidential elections there.
Would not surprise me. All right. Let's move right on along. All right, folks. This is a fun one. Okay, so Nick Shirley is preparing part 2 of his expose on Somali fraud. Upstaged a little bit by the war in Venezuela.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
But yeah, upstaged a little bit by the war in Venezuela, but he's working on part 2. So we'll see. Sequels can often be tricky. It's tough to really capture the magic of the original. But here's some video that he put out with his big source, who he calls David. More on that in a moment. I don't know if this is a preview of part 2 or just a little aside that he put out, but David now claims that the fraud is anywhere from $80 to $100 billion. Wow.
Here in Minnesota. You've been living here for years now. How bad is this fraud?
So I was born in Minneapolis a long time ago. I've lived my whole life here. And my opinion is that this is the worst fraud in human history. What is occurring in Minnesota and more specifically in the Twin Cities right now.
God.
How much money do you think has been sent around fraudulently here inside Minnesota?
Over the years, I would say anywhere from 80 to $100 billion.
And right now, the big controversy.
80 to $100 billion. I can't wait for part 2. This is going to be explosive. Now, the Intercept did put out an article here. Unnamed source in viral Minnesota Somali fraud video is right-wing lobbyist who called Muslims demons. David Hoch, could be Hotch, could be Hock. Yeah, Hock. Well, the Koch brothers spell it Koch, and they pronounce
they do, yeah. Yeah, I mean, but you could see why with that you'd want to
you wouldn't say
pronunciation.
All right, well, all right. So
they don't want to be the Koch brothers.
That's right, the Koch brothers. Yeah. All right, so we'll call him Hotch. David Hotch, identified only by first name in Nick Shirley's video, got info for his anti-Somali campaign from a GOP State House staffer. In his video alleging fraud at Somali-owned daycare centers in Minneapolis, right-wing YouTuber Nick Shirley was led around the city by a purported whistleblower called Only David. Shirley, and outlets like Fox News that credulously picked up the influencer's video, credited David by first name only. While Shirley's video portrays the man as a party interested in purported fraud because he observed daycare centers near his office in downtown Minneapolis, David, it turns out, is actually a political operative with connections to the Minnesota State House. Shirley's main source is a lobbyist and one-time right-wing candidate for Minnesota Attorney General, whose full name is David Hotch. So, yes, here we're going to take a look at the portion of the video where he introduces David only as David and does not reveal anything about what he does for a living or anything like that.
Break down all of the fraud from start to finish, from going to the fraudulent businesses and confronting the people who are making millions of dollars from the government. And we will also
You know what I'm going to do? Because that music might be copyrighted and I don't want to have to edit this out. I'll just read along with this since he subtitled that. Who let this fraud happen? And to make this happen, I met up with a man who's been doing his own investigation for years now, as he has seen the fraud firsthand. His name is David, period. Let's go into this and be prepared to be shocked. How deep is this fraud here inside of Minnesota? So here he is with David, period.
Here inside of Minnesota.
It is far worse than anybody can imagine. You heard it's 7 to 10 billion and maybe more, and now the numbers have been revised and put out there publicly that they think it's more like 8 billion. How I got involved is that where my office is here in Minneapolis, I'm sort of in the heart of all of this fraud, and I would see these childcare centers. I said, well, there aren't any kids there. It's the middle of the day, and all I see are a couple of guys standing out front smoking, and then I'd go by another daycare and I'd see the same thing. I said, well, where do these kids play? And so I started to go online and look, and I said, this place is licensed for 80 children. They had 0 children. Every time I went by there, they never had a single child there. Then I started to see all these transportation companies going around, and it was always a Somali driver. And I said, well, that's great. They're out there transportation, contributing, but they never had a passenger. Never, ever once.
Okay, now pay attention to that, too, because he says, I would see these Somali drivers, and I was like, that's great. They're out there contributing.
And I said, well, what is all this transportation? What are they doing? So then I found out that in Minnesota, they have something called non-emergency medical transportation. So this is going to the dentist's office, therapy, whatever it might be. And I said, well, how many of these companies are there? And the research came back that there are 1,020 of them, and more than 800 of them are Somali-owned. Nobody from the state of Minnesota ever cross-checks to see if any rides were ever actually provided. All they did was write the check.
So right here we have all this paperwork. And how are you getting all this information about the fraud?
A lot of it is through my own research. And then I have some contacts at the Capitol going back many, many years. And so the data...
Now, you'll notice the edit point there. He says, I have some contacts at the Capitol going back many, many years.
Through my own research. And then I have some contacts at the Capitol going back many, many years. And so the data that I'm getting is 100% accurate, coming directly from research done by people at the state Capitol.
Okay, now obviously we don't know what was edited out because it was edited out. There's no way to know that for sure. But it seems like that could have been where he slipped in that he did lobbying work in Minnesota, right? Because he's talking about his connections to the Minnesota State House, and then it just cuts to a later part of that sentence. So we get no last name and no disclosure that the guy is a lobbyist in the video. Accounts bearing his name have a long online history posting about the Somali community in Minnesota. A TikTok and a recently deleted Instagram account posted almost exclusively on the subject, including derogatory statements about Somalis and Muslims. Quote, every Somali in Minnesota is engaged in fraud. All of them. Hotch posted on the now deleted Instagram account. In November, he posted, quote, even the blacks have had enough of the demon Muslim.
The blacks.
Now, the reason I think it's important to include that, especially in contrast to his statement about how when he saw the Somali drivers, he thought, oh, that's great. Look at how they're contributing to society, right? He almost wanted to sound like he had a soft spot for the Somali refugee immigrants, when really that is not how he really feels about them, as evidenced by this now deleted social media presence that he had until the Intercept started digging around. Hotch's last name was not given in Shirley's video, but the Intercept identified him using information in the video itself cross-referenced with publicly available materials. According to the video, Hotch received information for his campaign against Somali daycare centers from the Minnesota State House. Emails shown in the video revealed he got state funding figures for specific centers from a Republican staffer named Joe Marble. After Shirley's 42-minute video won praise from MAGA figures across the country, including from the Trump administration, Minnesota Republicans were quick to hitch their wagons to the expose. State Representative Lisa DeMuth said during a virtual news conference Monday that our caucus has been working to expose the fraud for years, including working with Nick Shirley. So she is running for governor. And she posted that she collaborated with them on this video, which Shirley denied. For his part, in an X post on Wednesday, Shirley denied working with or even knowing who DeMuth is. Hotch, however, speaks openly about his links to the Minnesota State House in the video. So here is reporting on her statement here. Breaking: Minnesota PR News reports that Minnesota House GOP leader Lisa DeMuth acknowledged the Republican Party's involvement in Nick Shirley's viral daycare video, saying, "We worked with Nick Shirley on this." That matters because the video has been widely framed as an independent citizen, independent report. And Nick Shirley comes out and, of course, in the reply, 1.4 million views on this reply, says, "This is completely false. I have no idea who this lady is. She is lying to make herself look good for her campaign. Shame on her." So based on his reply, he was encouraged to sue this woman. Nick, you could sue Lisa DeMuth mainly for defamation, given his denial of her claims about collaboration, which he calls false and motivated by her 2026 governor campaign. That wouldn't exactly be defamation, but you get the picture. This is a Minnesota law overview. Viability depends on evidence of falsity, harm, and public figure status, requiring actual malice. Consult a lawyer. Yes, he needs to sue her. Minnesota does not need more blatant liars as representatives of the state. So a few hours after these replies came in encouraging him to sue this woman for falsely claiming to have collaborated on the report, he backtracks. He says, either way, I'm sure this lady would make for a much better candidate than Tim Walz. Best of luck in your race. Yeah. Either way, whether I'm lying or you're lying, either way, it doesn't really matter. One of us is not telling the truth. It doesn't really matter who. The point is, we're all on the right, and we're better than that bozo Tim Walz. Best of luck in your race. And the truth is the truth. Fraud is happening, and we should celebrate that it is being exposed at a national level. Best of luck, and I hope you have a fair election. Okay, so he squashes the lawsuit rumors. Though Shirley doesn't use Hotch's last name, the video contains information about his identity. The logo on Hotch's shirt is obscured, but his name, email address, and the house email address of his former lobbying partner, Marble, are all visible on the email printout he carries throughout Shirley's video. So there you go. So they obscured the logo on the shirt, but they showed the information in the document. Now, when I heard that, he had some logo obscured on his shirt, I wasn't exactly sure what they were referring to, because in watching the video, I didn't see anything like blurred out or any black boxes. So I'm like, what is this? So I'm trying to find where they may have obscured any logo that may have identified this guy further beyond just his first name. So we look at here, nothing, there's no logo on that shirt. There's nothing grayed out or blurred out or anything like that. So then I look, he obviously puts on a sweater and a vest when they go out into the streets, because it's cold in Minnesota, obviously. And so he has that red sweater on, and he's got a vest. So maybe the vest is covering up a logo on the sweater, but it's really not conclusive. I don't know why the Intercept would say that they're obscuring something just based on a vest. I mean, it could just be a plain red vest. But then I noticed something that could be what they're talking about, which is a random patch of duct tape on his sleeve that he sports throughout the video.
Right.
Now, I come from a long line of, frugal New York Jews who know a lot of ways to stretch a dollar. I've never known anyone in my family to use duct tape to patch up, a torn garment like that.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that's what that duct tape is there for. I also don't think, assuming that is what the duct tape is there for, that if this guy were going to go and shoot a video that has, a chance of going viral, he would show up in a sweater that's duct taped together. You'd probably want to look a little sharper than that. Right.
Yeah.
And so what probably happened is he's got some logo there that might reveal more about him than he wants out there. And he realized, oh, shit, I shouldn't have worn this sweater. And Nick Shirley, 23-year-old noob that he is, says, well, we'll just put a piece of duct tape over it and walk around with duct tape.
Yeah,
on your
that
arm.
makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, it must be what that is.
That tracks.
What else
That all
could that
tracks.
be? I've never seen somebody wear a patch of duct tape on their sleeve before. So that could be it. The email address for David Hotch listed in the documents in the video also leads to multiple accounts around the web linked to the lobbyist. The Hotmail address is listed in a public document documenting Hotch's request for a waiver for a late fee related to the renewal of his lobbyist registration in 2024. Hotch retains his active lobbyist registration in the States. And there it is. The Intercept linked to this government document. So there he is. He is an active lobbyist as of now, registered in the state of Minnesota. Hotch's email is also listed on a TikTok account for Ladder White, a company formed by Hotch to sell ladder safety equipment, where Hotch's videos on the Minnesota Somali community were posted. One of the posts on the TikTok channel shows the same printed list of Somali-owned daycares Hotch holds in the Shirley video. After The Intercept began making inquiries for this article, Hotch's Instagram account was deleted, and the name of his TikTok account was changed with the listed email address removed. In an interview on Donald Trump Jr.'s podcast, Shirley said Hotch's research had been suppressed. So here he is complaining that the media doesn't want to use this guy as a source.
Through your methodology a little bit, how did you identify, which facilities to visit and what sources, you're using to track, the funding amount?
Yeah, so luckily there is a man by the name of David. I've known about the fraud for a while, but
Still won't say his name.
Having my own YouTube channel and having to do everything, it's hard to really investigate something as into detail as this man David was able to do, because he's been doing it for years. And he's been trying to get people to listen to him for years. And he's gone to journalists, people, but they won't even shed a light on what he's saying. And so with my research and his research, we combined it all. And then he was able to get the exact funding from somebody inside of the Capitol that had the CCAP numbers.
Okay, so just a guess here, just speculation. It seems to me like the reason this guy, well, first let's just back up. This whole idea that it was Nick Shirley who blew the lid off of this story is patently false. This has been a story since 2022, when the Biden Justice Department started prosecuting fraud in Minnesota. As recently as November of this year, the New York Times wrote a big article, which we featured in our first big segment about this just a couple of months ago, detailing the investigations, the allegations, the charges, and the convictions surrounding this Somali fraud. So the idea that the media has not reported this is just blatantly untrue. This brings me to my suspicion and my speculation about what he's saying here, that this David Hotch character was ignored by journalists. I think part of the reason why this guy had a problem getting journalists to print his findings is because he is a right-wing lobbyist, and his obvious bias may tarnish the objective reportings of journalists who are looking to report on this story. In other words, the fact that the guy is a right-wing lobbyist with a history of insulting blacks and Muslims on social media might sort of tarnish the reporting that they're trying to do. And so they look into him and they think, you know what? this guy's not the best of sources to hinge a story on. Now, if you're Nick Shirley and you're 23-year-old YouTuber whose audience are, just brainwashed MAGA chuds with precancerous liver disease who are just going to absorb anything that you put out no matter what, your attitude to this may have been, and apparently was, well, if this guy's background makes him a problematic source, we'll just hide that information from the viewers. We just won't say his last
and we'll
name.
pretend it's to protect this guy who we're showing in full face throughout the video.
Right. Like, we just won't reveal who he is. We'll make sure only to refer to him by first name, which is kind of a red flag when you think about it. It's one of those things you don't think about in real time, but yeah, why wouldn't you introduce a person and give a little background into them? No, well, we're only going to say his first name, and we're going to put a patch of duct tape over his clothes to make sure that nobody investigates his background further. So the reason why this guy hasn't been taken seriously by credible journalists is probably because they realize that his biases make him a very weak source. But Nick Shirley decided not to do that due diligence, or to the extent that he did, he figured he would hide it from the viewers. And hey, as long as we're trashing Somalis and distracting people from the looting that has been done by the oligarchs, who have been the real culprits when it comes to the immiseration of the middle class and the working class, then we'll go viral anyway. So fuck it. Fuck it. Who cares?
I think you're seeing a lot of this in the sloppiness of these psyops. A lot of people have been pointing this out. Gosh, they just don't do psyops like they used to.
Yeah.
They just don't do the propaganda like they used to. I think part of that is the realization on the part of the propagandists that their audience are there for a product, and it doesn't need to be accurate or truthful. Why bother? Like, why let something like verifiable facts get in the way of your propaganda when your audience doesn't care? The kind of people who care about that are not watching Nick Shirley or taking it seriously when J.D. Vance and Elon Musk boost something. The people this is aimed at are really just broken people. We've talked about this, mostly male, and I can't blame them, man. They've spent decades turning you into somebody who is so mentally vulnerable that the promise of any kind of fellowship or connection or claim of pride or strength, however tenuous and abstract, it draws in certain people who are in a lot of pain, man. And for those people, why would they question it? They're not there to establish facts. They're there for justifications and narratives, and that's what they're giving them. Why bother doing it well?
Yeah, but also, like, why bother concealing it given the bias of your audience? Like,
well, I think these guys are dumb.
Yeah.
I think they're dumb. I think with Nick Shirley in particular, what you see again and again is he's pretty dumb.
He's 23 also. He doesn't know how to
but
do
there
this. Like, he's
are
new.
23-year-olds who are smart. He's a dummy, man. That kid's a dummy.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly just doesn't get.
He got the
doing.
call. He got recruited. He got on the Zio grift gravy train, and he's dumb. He's dumb. They recruited a dumb one. You know, some of them are not dumb. I wouldn't say they're all dumb. I don't think DeRusso is dumb. I think he's scum, but I don't think he's stupid. I think this kid's stupid. The Israelis just recruited a dummy here.
Yeah, I mean, their response to this, meaning the people who are still backing this Shirley psyop here, the response to this is, well, so what if the guy's a lobbyist? Okay, so if that's your answer, then he should have just disclosed that from jump.
Right.
Like, all
but
he's
it's
doing,
dumb to think that's not going to blow up. If you're going to go this far,
right,
then what you need to go is full pixelate his face, hide his voice, like you've got some person on the inside. Go all the way that way, because obviously you show his face, it's going to get revealed who he is. It's just a stupid way to go about it. I think you're right about why they did it that way, and that's about the stupidest thing you could think of.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah, nah, we'll show your face. We won't use your last name. No one's
you got a logo on your jacket? Here, we would duct tape it.
Right.
Right?
It's stupid. It's stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, like, if you're an experienced videographer, whether you're a filmmaker or a broadcaster, if that jacket is a problem, you tell them, hey, do you have time to run home and get another jacket? If you live too far away, hey, we're just gonna have to stop and buy you a jacket on the way.
Right.
Because eventually someone's going to notice you've got a piece of fucking duct tape on your sleeve and realize that's not normal. And they're going to start thinking about, is there more to this guy that's not being revealed? But what is revealed as part of this story, and it's shown itself in obviously many other ways. The fact that this story, which was essentially parasitized from previously existing reporting by mainstream outlets like the New York Times and repackaged as some major expose is in it of itself indicative of the bias behind it. And so, of course, it makes perfect sense that your main source for the story is this conservative lobbyist who has obviously an axe to grind, which is probably why this guy was not cited in prior reporting on the story. But he has his 15 minutes now.
Yep.
All right. Let's move right on along here. Got some super chats.
Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention it. We always want to keep our promises. And since in sweaty, humid Thailand, I don't plan on bringing a lot of T-shirts. This was the last chance. We had a viewer request this shirt.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
I said I would wear it on the show. This was the last chance.
Nice.
So there it is.
There you go.
Robert Carlton. Traveled Southeast Asia for 4 months. Amazing experience. Stay safe and take it all in, Russ. And thank you both for your unabashed honesty. It's appreciated. Thank you very much, Rob.
Thank you. I'm going to put our scroll on while you're reading these.
Dokoupil's resume to CBS was his foreskin.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty good. Interrobang 5000. Check out Kurangbin. Keaton.
All right.
Orangbin. Fake Keanu Reeves. Whoa.
It's a good Keanu Reeves.
Ryan Spence. If you haven't already, you should reach out to DD Geopolitics and have either Sarah or Chris on.
It's a good idea.
Talk about Venezuela, Russia, Ukraine, etc. They do good work. Yeah, and you know what? We use them a lot.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I know Nick has Sarah on a lot. Yeah, I mean, when Russ is away, there will be some days and weeks where I'll have co-hosts. So yeah, maybe I'll reach out.
That would be good.
We can maybe
plug
him in. Yeah.
Just don't fuck me when I'm in China. Don't do some big China expose while I'm over there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Steve Jobs. Did you all see the Newsmax article saying that the DOJ isn't going to release all the Epstein documents until Trump leaves office? Is that true?
You're over in China. They seize your devices, and you're like, "What are you doing? A podcaster?" What? It shows up. We do a segment. Uyghurs speak out on this your show. This your show, funny boy.
This your partner. This your partner.
This your partner.
Yeah. That's about it. I mean, we got one left.
All right, here, I'll grab some Rumble Rants in just a moment. Hey, if you like what we do and you want to help us do more of it, the best way to support the show is, of course, to become a member. Go to dudissidents.com/Patreon, Substack, and Locals. You get bonus content, your name up on the scroll, call-in access to all our Q&As, and ad-free live streams emailed directly to you the day after they air in public. So if you miss a show and you don't want to watch it back with ad interruptions, you get the full show, unedited, uncensored, emailed directly to your inbox the day after it airs live. Our supporters are the backbone of the operation here, and we thank you, as always, for your support. Eric Rousseau says, if one gets a circumcision as an adult, does the rabbi still suck your dick? Asking for a bit. It's a myth. The rabbis don't. I mean, I guess a rabbi could do it, but
only in Crown Heights.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Now they do them. They do them in hospital.
Those whiskers do tickle.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. John M. in Minnesota, Dokoupil said, "Let's go to the Great Lakes State for the next story." The Great Lakes state is Michigan, dumbass. Minnesota is the land of 10,000 lakes. Ah, good catch. Good catch. See, I didn't even catch that. It's a good observation. See, very alert, very sharp. I like it. Yeah, we have to send that to. Maybe they'll do
What kind of private school education did this guy get?
Yeah, maybe they'll do a mea culpa video about that too. Ravid Laz says rumors are swirling that Shirley's actual name is Shirley Steen Zio Goldberg. Thank you, Ravid Laz. Appreciate that. All right, folks, we will move right on along here. Okay, so this was a tweet that went kind of viral for all the wrong reasons. This is Alex Witkoff, son of U.S. envoy to every burner on the World War III stove, Steve Witkoff, who tweets out on January 4th, 2 days ago, "Yesterday, my family would have been celebrating my brother Andrew's 37th birthday. Instead, he's gone, overtaken by a drug overdose. Drug overdoses are a national catastrophe and now the #1 killer of Americans age 18 to 45. It's surreal that on Andrew's birthday, President Trump successfully captured Nicolas Maduro, an illegitimate narco-terrorist dictator with an active U.S. arrest warrant since the Biden administration. His drug networks have helped poison an entire generation of Americans. Anyone who defends Maduro is turning their back on tens of millions of American families afflicted by this drug overdose crisis every single day." Now, this was community noted pretty quickly and pretty thoroughly by readers who noted Andrew Witkoff, brother of Alex Witkoff, died from an OxyContin overdose. OxyContin is an opioid and was developed by Purdue Pharma. OxyContin is not related to Venezuela or President Maduro, who is accused of trafficking cocaine into the United States. Cocaine is a stimulant, not an opioid. So essentially, you're blaming your brother's death very sort of sneakily on Nicolas Maduro and his narco-terrorist outfit there, when, in fact, the drug that killed your brother, tragically, of course, was made right here in America by an American corporation, Purdue Pharma. Max Blumenthal went as far as to uncover a brief section of a lawsuit that was filed on behalf of his family against the rehab center where his brother OD'd. So below is from your fam's lawsuit against the treatment center where your brother overdosed on OxyContin. OxyContin is produced by the Sacklers, not Venezuela, twisted to exploit a tragic family loss as fodder for a potential financial gain in the Trump Inc. plunder of Venezuela. And yes, this is one of the links that was in the community note. Wrongful death lawsuit hits LA rehab center following THR investigation. So embattled A-list Hollywood Rehab 180 Center, which on Thursday saw its CEO and clinical director ousted by company investors after an expose about its care practices was published in the Hollywood Reporter, has been hit with a lawsuit filed by the parents of deceased client Andrew Witkoff. He died of an OxyContin overdose at its since shuttered Sunset Plaza Drive sober living home 2 years ago at the age of 22. By the way, this was published in 2013. Steve Witkoff, a wealthy Manhattan real estate mogul whose holdings include the Woolworth Building, and his wife Lauren, allege wrongful death, negligence, and fraud against 180, as well as 3 named defendants: terminated CEO Alex Shohet, his wife, former clinical director Bernadine Freed, and Justin Carroll, a co-founder of the rehab center, who departed in July. The complaint, filed on August 9th in Los Angeles Superior Court and obtained by the Hollywood Reporter, condemns the facility for its alleged lack of monitoring oversight in allowing Witkoff to leave its facilities unattended, shirk his urine tests, and buy illicit drugs online while in residence. Further, the Witkoffs allege the $1,000 a day sober companion provided for their son was not, as promised, properly trained and did not supervise him when he left the premises. Rather, this person had no formal training in the field of substance abuse counseling and treatment and was given little, if any, on-the-job training prior to being assigned. I love this. The companion, a recovering alcoholic himself, had previously been a driver at 180, tasked with chauffeuring clients to treatment appointments. It just shows how scummy these rehab centers are. They know they're dealing with rich clients, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't be at that rehab anyway. So yeah, we'll soak them for $1,000 a day. They'll have their own personal sponsor who stays with them, who is, I guess, a driver, a chauffeur who got promoted.
You want to make 20 bucks?
Yeah, we'll make 20 bucks a day.
Hang out with the rich junkie today.
Exactly. So not only is this not the fault of foreign narco traffickers, your family filed a very publicly reported on lawsuit against the treatment center. So again, a kind of a pattern, because we did in our last segment how Nick Shirley hid the identity of his main source in ways that I guess he thought would never come out. How did you not think that was going to come out? Like, it's been widely reported that your brother died of an OxyContin overdose, and that your parents sued the treatment center, and it was a subject of Hollywood Reporter stories. Like, to just try and manipulate people so brazenly, not anticipating that you're going to get caught in what you could, I think, reasonably call a lie, since he is implicitly blaming Maduro for his son's death. At the very least, it's a gross misrepresentation of the situation. To think that's not going to come back to bite you, I guess that's the arrogance that comes with being that wealthy and that powerful and that untouchable. So yeah, Drop Site News picks up on this. Venezuela has nothing to do with OxyContin, the drug that Andrew Witkoff reportedly overdosed on and died from in 2011. OxyContin was created, marketed, and aggressively pushed by Purdue Pharma, owned by the Sackler family. In the United States, over 500,000 people have died from opioid overdoses since 1999. According to the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Venezuela does not produce OxyContin, does not control its supply chain, and played no role in the Sackler-driven opioid epidemic. The crisis was fueled by Purdue's false claims about addiction risk and mass overprescription by U.S. doctors. No member of the Sackler family faced criminal charges or prison time. In exchange for multi-billion-dollar civil settlements, they secured broad legal immunity from future opioid lawsuits. No Sackler even admitted wrongdoing. Yeah, you should definitely check out the series Dope Sick if you want to learn more about this. It was with Michael Keaton. It was extremely well done. I definitely recommend that. Michael Stuhlbarg played the head of the Sackler family. He was terrific in that. And that lays it out. Was
that Hulu?
Something like that. Yeah, it was years and years ago. I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But it details how they would, yes, obviously strong arm the FDA into approving higher and higher doses of this opioid. They would make, they would roll out the 20 milligram pill, and oh my God, that's how could you do? And then the next episode, a 50, an 80, 100 milligram pill. No, they are criminals. I mean, they're just a murderous gang of just rapacious oligarchs who have not served a day in jail. So that's the other irony. Witkoff wants to imply that it's justice for his brother that Maduro was, dragged out of his country and locked up in Brooklyn. Meanwhile, the Sacklers, the ones who actually killed your brother, never spent any time in jail for any of their crimes. So Colin Monroe says, imagine prostituting your own dead brother's memory by deliberately lying about it for political purposes. Who would do that? Alex Witkoff. And yeah, to this same point, this is a really funny moment, funny in a sort of tragically ironic sense. But you really just see the broken-brained nature of this argument that this is about keeping Americans safe from imported drugs. Here is the host asking Democratic Representative Jason Crow about the drug overdose problem and how this invasion was to stop it.
1,000 Americans dying of drug overdose. Most of those drugs coming from Venezuela and other places, Colombia certainly as well.
That's actually not true.
That's not true that 100,000 Americans.
The majority of the deaths by drugs in America are the result of meth and fentanyl. Almost none of that comes from Venezuela.
So you're okay with massive amounts of cocaine traffic coming into the United States from Venezuela?
No, I'm not saying that.
What kind of a response is that? Like, what kind of a response is that? She asks a question. He explains why that's a misguided question. You're referring to drugs that do not come from Venezuela. The drugs that are responsible for these 100,000 deaths that you're talking about are not the drugs that we are stopping by arresting Maduro. First of all, there's no evidence that we're stopping the flow of cocaine by arresting Maduro, but whatever. That notwithstanding, like, you're talking about two different things here. You're talking about apples and oranges. And her response is, well, are you saying you like cocaine? I mean, just absolute idiocy.
The majority of the deaths by drugs in America are the result of meth and fentanyl. Almost none of that comes from Venezuela.
So you're okay with massive amounts of cocaine trafficking?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah, that's what he said.
No, I'm not saying that either. What I'm saying is, if we want a real drug,
I mean, this is the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing as, oh, I guess so. You love Saddam Hussein then? You think he's a great? You think Saddam Hussein's a great guy? I mean, it's the exact same level of fucking stupidity, and it is just incredible to see people fall for it. Although, to be fair and to give context, not nearly as many people are falling for this as fell for that. Right.
Well, you know, Dokoupil screws up again. She should send her reel to Barry.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But you want to see, I mean, you want to see the gold prize for exaggerated claims. I mean, just comically ridiculous statements. Here is Kash Patel announcing the amount of fentanyl seized by the Trump administration in 2025 could have killed 175 million Americans. Claiming that were it not for the actions of the Trump administration, half of our country would have been killed. Half of Americans could be dead if it weren't for blowing up these boats. I mean, you talk about a claim that only a completely lobotomized moron could believe.
Do you realize that we were 15 minutes away from fentanyl killing 80% of America?
We would have wiped us all out.
In Central America and elsewhere to create and manufacture the fentanyl. And just look at what we did this past year under President Trump's leadership. We seized enough fentanyl to kill 175 million American citizens. That is an increase in fentanyl seizures.
Do you realize half of us would be dead right now if not for us? 175 million Americans. We stopped enough drugs to kill 175 million Americans. Who's falling for that? Like, who is buying any of this? I'm sorry. Like, I don't mean to be a one note kind of guy when it comes to segments like this, but how fucking stupid do you have to be to absorb this? Oh yeah, no, do you realize that if Donald Trump didn't stop the narco traffickers, could have killed 175 million? How? What do you mean enough drugs to kill 175? So you're saying half of Americans are you're saying every American is a drug addict? And that if only these drugs had been imported at the pace that the traffickers wanted them, half of us would have OD'd on these drugs? I mean, how absurd can you be? How much of a joke can you be? It really, I mean, they outdo themselves every day, this crew.
Yeah, well, that's really no surprise from the children's author.
Yeah.
About King Donald as FBI director. Yeah, man. Drugs. I talked a little bit with Max about this too. Like the drug importation, they've decided that's going to be the new WMDs.
Yep.
And they're going to use it to justify anything they want to do militarily. And again, I mean, you're seeing this across the board. They don't care what the truth is. They're not even trying. You know, at least the incubator babies thing was convincing.
Right.
You know, it was a while before you found out that she was the daughter of a government official and that was all bullshit. This is just slop, man. This is just slop. And the numbers show it. Like, if you want to see a bright side, most people are not buying this. Even most Republicans, like, obviously more Republicans are buying it, but still not anything like what you got with an Iraq war, or even the Ukraine war. You know, you got like more dissenting voices on the right, but not a majority. People can see this as WMDs all over again. And, the cocaine story is ridiculous. So much of the conversation you see online are bots talking to each other. It's the dead internet. You got influencers who are a brand, who are actually fronting a team of people that are posting bullshit, and you got bots responding to it. That's a lot of what you're seeing. You go out, you actually poll people. No, nobody's buying this. I mean, yeah, some people do, but not most.
No, generally the line of cope that the Trump supporters are feeding themselves now is that, well, it's not really a war because we got Maduro within an hour or so,
Right.
and
Yeah.
things are going to stabilize from here. Right. That's kind of where they're coming from. I don't see many people at all buying this line that we save tens of thousands of lives by interrupting a drug trafficking route by arresting Maduro. I mean, it's incoherent. Like, it's incoherent. Like, it sounds stupid to even say. That's how
Right.
stupid it is.
Well, all of this, and this is the running theme through all of these narratives. It's the running theme of white genocide in South Africa. The running theme is they have to tell you someone's getting away with something,
Right.
or someone's doing something that you should be aggrieved about, and somehow it's affecting you, and it's part of things that you hate, and it has something to do with why your life sucks. And all of that is aimed at keeping you always looking down, never looking up. That's why. What kind of a frenzy could you whip up with these people if you built these kinds of narratives around the Sackler family?
Right.
They'll
Exactly.
be coming to freaking, and I'm not saying this is what they should do. People would be ready to come to their mansion and burn it down if
Right.
you drum that. And of course, we're against any actions like that. But yeah, like, you could whip up that frenzy about anything, man, about anything. The whole point is to make sure that these people don't look at the Sacklers and
Right.
don't look at the real underlying problem with drugs and where it's actually coming from. Never look at the corporate criminals, never look at the people with the right connections, only look preferably at brown people. It's easier to sell to their target audience if they're brown. And convince them that there's something here for you to be angry about and aggrieved about. You're being violated in some way by foreigners, and Trump is getting back at them for you. That's it, man. You got to keep them busy while you continue to rob the country from them. That's how they do it.
Yeah, and you talk about, like, it's funny because we were talking offline about the fact that, the Somali fraud story was an example of them finally figuring out how to psyop the sort of dissident right into accidentally supporting Israel, right? Like, what
Yep.
grievance button can we hit to get them on Israel's side? Nothing is really working. Oh, yes, of course. Black African people
There you go.
are stealing money from daycare fraud. That'll work because people
It
aren't going
is
to look
the oldest
into
trick in
yeah.
the American playbook. And why do we do this first?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
We know they don't like Jews, but they really hate the black.
They really hate the blacks. That's right. How many of them are going to look into the fact that we are recognizing Somaliland as a sovereign territory and looking to set up shop from there as a base with a clear line of sight to Yemen, who we have bombed repeatedly over the years, or at least our U.S.
No.
Partners have. Yeah, no, they won't look that into it. So how do we psyop them into supporting that? Somalians, of course, right?
Yep.
All right. Let's take some more Rumble rants here. Kenman, Nick Shirley took his mom to prom. She's all that. Thank you, Kenman. Stoop sign. Russ says that Chinese pussy is really sideways. The ones that have giant clits. Sometimes clits that spit. Yeah, that's what we should.
Oh, snap.
Should put that there.
That'll be my next YouTube video.
Yeah.
I'll have some plaster casts of different badges.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Somalians are officially Americans now, like hazing for a fraternity. A large immigrant group does not become an actual American until you scapegoated for some political purpose. Thank you, EO Shush. T-Bone says, Russ, stay safe down there. The agents are freaking everywhere. Keaton, say hi to your dad first, please. DD rocks. Thank you, T-Bone.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right. Looks like we got one stray super chat up there.
Just got one. Heavy Snack. What are the chances Nick Shirley, whom I refer to as PragerU Fuentes, is being funded by Israel as part of their recently increased Hosmer budget? 100%. That's not 100%. It's not even a question. He took the trip. He took the influencer trip. He's on the payroll. He literally was told to do this. There's absolutely, in my mind, there's absolutely no question that he got the order. He's a dummy. He's a dummy. Like, he wouldn't have even come up with something like this on his own.
Yeah, why would a guy like that even just randomly go to Minnesota to look into?
Yeah,
this?
no,
Very
they
strange.
told him that's what they wanted him to do, and he went and did it. He's getting paid. Absolutely.
It's an already existing story. It's in
Right.
Minneapolis.
It's not the kind of thing a dummy like this would put together.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, a guy like this is going to chase headlines.
Right.
Like this is a little
Excuse
like
me.
why would he pick that out of the ether? It's a little too devious. It's a little too put together for a guy like this.
All right. We have one more segment on the day. This will be Russell's final segment from the United States for the next several months.
That's right. That's right. All right, settle in. So this is the kind of thing that would scare a lesser man who's about to go through a lot of embarkation points. NYC Wegmans storing shoppers' face scans and biometric data to ID customers boost security. We understand concerns, they say.
Oh, that's
do
nice.
you? Oh, do you? You understand. You're not going to address them, but you understand them.
Yeah. We hear
Okay,
you.
so here is Yuval Hari from of the WEF, speaking at the WEF here, I believe. He's an Israeli. He's a professor at Hebrew University. And here he is in the COVID times talking about how COVID opened the door to biometric surveillance.
COVID is critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize total biometric surveillance. If we want to stop this epidemic, we need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin, their body temperature. Like we walked in here, we had to go through a body temperature test. Now they're using it to see whether you have the coronavirus. But exactly the same technology can determine what you think about the government. You know, anger is a biological phenomena just like disease. It's not some spiritual thing out there. It's a biological pattern in your body. With this kind of surveillance, I mean, you watch the big president, the big leader, gives a speech on television. The television could be monitoring you and knowing whether you're angry or not, just by analyzing the cues, the biological cues coming from your body.
Okay. A little more about Wegmans. Enter at your own risk. New signs unveiled at some Wegmans across the Big Apple are warning customers that personally identifying biometric data, such as facial recognition scans, is being stored while they shop. The signs posted this month in the grocery store's Brooklyn and Manhattan locations and first reported by Gothamist will be used to, quote, protect the safety and security of our patrons and employees. That's always the pitch. It's always safety. It's always safety. It's always security. We need to do this to keep you safe. Wegmans collects, retains, converts, stores, or shares customers' biometric identifier information, which may include facial recognition, eye scans, voice prints, the notices read. The Rochester-based chain's data collection began during a 2024 pilot which vowed that shoppers' data would not be saved. The current signs posted across 2 locations around Gotham make no such promise. instead only committing to not lease, trade, or otherwise profit from the transfer of biometric identifier information. So this is the sign there. Now for me personally, I see this sign, I'm turning around. I'm not going in the store. Why on earth would I submit to that to go buy bananas? But we focus a lot on how we're going to be forced to do this by the state, when really a lot of this information is first being gathered through access to things like X, as we will see, where they want to start gathering your data and your voice. All of this is being given by us willingly without really understanding who gets access to those databases.
You should sell yarmulkes outside the entrance, being like, "Hey, they're scanning you biometrically in there. So if you don't want to end up on a list or something, here's $5 for a kippa. It'll be good."
Better wear yarmulke. You want Star of David is 20.
Right. We'll
A
sell you
Wegmans
Marx Brothers glass.
if you want a high, that's 53.
The Marx Brothers glasses with the nose.
A Wegmans
This is
rep
for the biometrics.
That's right. Hey, you want to be on a list? You want to be able to take a plane?
Yeah.
A Wegmans rep told the Post that the tech is only being used in a small fraction of our stores that exhibit an elevated risk. At Wegmans, the safety of our customers and employees is a top priority. Like many retailers, we use cameras to help identify individuals who pose a risk to our people, customers, or operation, the rep said. The system collects facial recognition data and only uses it to identify individuals who have been previously flagged for misconduct. Currently, the only biometric data stored at Wegmans is facial recognition scans. The images and video are kept, quote, as long as necessary for security purposes and then deleted. The grocery chain would not disclose the exact retention period, claiming it was for security reasons. Other grocery and retail locations in the 5 boroughs, like Fairway Market, Westside Market, and Walgreens, already implement biometric data collection in stores, according to Cranes. Okay, so now based on the research that I did, there is a requirement. This part is definitely true. There is a requirement in New York State that if you're doing that, you need to inform people. That's why Wegmans has this sign outside now. But there is no enforcement mechanism for the law, so most stores ignore it. They didn't ignore it. That's why they got this kind of attention. Because I've gone to Westway. I've never seen a sign like that. I've gone into their markets. So who else is doing this? Well, this was back in 2024. Starting July 1st, users who want to be monetized on X will need to provide Israeli intelligence company AU-10TIX with access to their government-issued ID and biometric data. Bet you didn't know that an Israeli company gathers all your personal information when you give it to X. See, you got to give them your government ID. You got to look into the camera. They're going to get a good camera shot of you. All going to Israel, baby. All going to Israel. I thought Elon was based. I thought he was based. I thought he was one of those newfangled billionaires fighting the deep state. I thought that's what Elon was. But it gets better. I didn't catch this. I was just notified that X is updating their privacy policy in January. That's this January. Concern number one, if we continue to use X, will they be collecting our biometric data automatically based on our consent to the new privacy terms, or will they be asking us specifically for consent to collect biometrics? See how they worded that? Okay, so the way they worded that is biometric information. Based on your consent, we may collect and use your biometric information for safety, security, and identification purposes. So yes, that's really unclear. Are they considering your acceptance of the terms of service
that you already consented, or are they going to specifically ask for your consent before gathering that? So in any case, X, at least for people who want to monetize their content, has been building a database of those people with an Israeli company, and presumably anything like this that they would be gathering on the bulk of non-monetized people would also be processed by that same Israeli company. We don't know that for sure, but it's a fair assumption. Now, on the government level, Europe replaced passport stamps with a biometric entry-exit system from October 2025, according to this. It doesn't stop. There's resist CBDC. It doesn't stop at digital ID cards. They want biometric digital ID, face scan, retinal scan, palm print, DNA, gait analysis. They're building a globally interoperable system of 24/7 digital surveillance and control. The reason I point this out is, yeah, there's a lot of focus on state actors, but when all of these supermarkets and places like X in particular are gathering this data, where do you think that data is going to go? Who do you think they're going to be sharing it with?
That's
So,
the big question, yeah.
So now this is Rachel Barnhart. She's a state legislator. She wrote a letter to the Wegmans CEO about the biometric data collection. There's another legislator who introduced legislation to ban it in New York State in 2024, who's going to reintroduce it now that this is getting a lot of publicity. But they're way ahead of you, man. They're way ahead of you. They're developing technology, and Hari was touching on that a little bit, where they won't need to see your face anymore. So this is Jason Bassler. IARPA, Intelligence Advanced Research Projects Activities. Breyer, Biometric Recognition and Identification at Altitude and Range. Think DARPA before the CIA, NSA. Its mission to create AI, biometric surveillance, and data fusion systems to identify anyone, anywhere. So he shared out a little video about this. I want to credit the person, Dylan Schmidt, put out this video about that technology.
Is old news. The government just funded something far more terrifying, whole body recognition. It's a new AI called Farsight, and it can identify you from a drone over half-mile away just by the way you walk. It doesn't need to see your face. It analyzes your gait, your body shape, and then runs it through a database to find you. This is happening right now, developed by researchers at Michigan State University. And the most disturbing part, this technology is specifically designed to get around facial recognition bans. Cities can ban cops from using facial recognition, but this isn't facial recognition, this is a loophole. The project is funded by IARPA, the research arm of US spy agencies. Their goal is to put this on drones, watchtowers, or any high-altitude camera. They can already do it through atmospheric turbulence from a high angle when your face is completely obscured. It's no longer just about what you post online, it's how you move through the world.
Okay, so there's a little chart of how this would work. Here's you trying to buy some arugula, right? Camera picks you up, drone picks you up, goes to the analysts, and they have different color rankings of whether you're a person of interest or not. As our friend Alex Jones might say, know why you hear Palantir, Palantir, Palantir. There's Jason Bassler again. This is why Palantir is dangerous. They're building the backbone for AI-driven tracking, behavioral analytics, social media scraping, and immigration logs, all plugged into 30-plus federal agencies through cross-domain interoperability. You really think they won't share that data? In Trump's age of unaccountability, don't expect the old safeguards to survive. And this was in response to, this was a recent story, Trump administration instructs U.S. airports to feed ICE the name of every passenger. That's every passenger. It's every passenger. It's not just immigrant passengers, not just foreign passengers. That's passengers. So presumably, my name has been fed to ICE, right? Because I'm traveling. Anybody who's traveling. And a little more about Palantir. Michael Anderson, This thread is actually worth looking up. It's from July 28th, 2025. He did a really good job breaking down the history of Palantir and what they do and what their subsidiary companies are and what they specialize in. But just a bit from that. So what does Palantir actually do? It tracks everything: phone logs, content, license plates, bank records, surveillance feeds. Then it finds hidden patterns and predicts what you'll do before you do it. Very much like Minority Report, right? They're gonna accuse you of pre-crime. So when you look at, it's not just Wegmans, apparently, you have other supermarkets doing this as well, I guess, that didn't disclose it, given there's no way to enforce this law that we have in theory. Yeah, these databases are all feeding into this digital prison that is being built for us. And that's an interesting side of it, because we tend to look at the government dimension. We don't look a lot at how a lot of this information is information we're giving up willingly to these commercial entities, whether it's seeing that sign outside Wegmans and deciding you need those grapes that bad anyway, or saying, hey, in the world we live in, I can't not be on social media. So yeah, here you go, scan my face. And what, you think those data sets are going to wind up discreet? You trust Elon with that data? He has an Israeli company that's handling all of it. This is a major part of how they're going to get everyone's biometrics, everyone's data, and create a total surveillance state. Yes, we are moving into a future where it's been a process. You know, you look at the old West, and it's full of stories of people who just like reinvented themselves by changing their names and starting over. You know, they were wanted for murder back east, and they just went out west and became somebody else. Over time, it became impossible to start over. It became impossible to start fresh like that. It became harder and harder. In the computer age, obviously, at that point, it became kind of impossible. As late as the 60s, that's part of what One Battle After Another was dealing with. They put it out of its time, kind of. But yeah, in the 60s, a lot of these guys would go underground with different identities. They would use like birth certificates of babies who had died, and they would take that name and they would take that social security number. And obviously that's kind of impossible now. Like there's really no way that you could get away with that now. This is the next level of control, where the state is going to be tracking you and monitoring you from cradle to grave. You're not going to be able to sneeze without the state knowing it. And what's funny is this is all happening here. And so many of these people like Elon will play on some misguided Western chauvinism to tell you you have to be afraid of China. What you shouldn't be afraid of this. You shouldn't be afraid of this. They are building the very thing that they say they stand in opposition to.
Yeah, and the incentivization of the private sector to help them in doing this is, yeah, what makes it really scary and really dystopian. Wegmans putting that sign on the door is just them saying that they are basically pimping you out to Palantir, basically. Like they're not using biometric data to determine what kind of olives you like. You know, they're obviously giving that information to other people at a profit, right? It's the only reason why they would do something like that. And so yeah, no, I mean they're
claiming it's security. They're claiming it's the
nonsense.
Yeah, of course.
It's fucking nonsense. They have security cameras in the place already.
Right.
I mean,
well, they're saying it's to like recognize, habitual shoplifters and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
that's
no, that's what that's about. Yeah, habitual shoplifters, right? Yeah, habitual shoplifters. I mean, that's a joke. That's a joke. The amount of money that the investment to,
of course, right?
I mean, it's not
right. It's not worth what they would steal.
Right. It's not worth it. Yeah, not even close. Not even close. All right. We will move right on along. We just got some Rumble rants and super chats, and then that is our show, everybody. So before we turn the lights out here, Vienticus Prime says all these people will profess without end that it is America and nothing else that means freedom. but freedom needs America as much as God needs a starship. That's right, Vianticus.
Listen, man, from my travels, I could tell you America, and I haven't been every place. I'm not, I'm not saying there's no place that I'd feel differently about. America is the least free place I've ever been. The least free. Any place else I've ever been, it seemed more free to me than America does. Like most places, they're not scanning your face when you go buy fruit.
That's right. That's right. Blank State says no one should face prosecution for manufacturing or promoting products that individuals consume voluntarily. Anyone who knowingly exceeds recommended dosage are themselves responsible for consequences, assuming said potential consequences are made clear in any marketing or distribution of said product. Well, that's where that argument, unfortunately, falls apart, my friend. Because Purdue Pharma was actually criminally charged as a corporation. The individuals did not face jail time, but Purdue pled guilty to intentionally deceiving both the regulators and the consumers about the addictive nature of their products. That's how they were able to get these incredibly large doses
that was the claim
approved.
that they had invented non-addictive painkillers.
Non-addictive painkillers, and that's how they were able to get these just incredible dosages by the FDA. 80 milligram pill of an opioid. It's insane. Not only did they lie about that, they definitely leaned on prescribers and pharmacies to help people get addicted to it. It's murder. They're fucking murderers, basically. What they would do is they would have doctors prescribe not only the high dose pills, but insane quantities of pills. I remember a friend of mine had like some routine, minor surgery done, and they prescribed him some oxy to deal with the pain after the surgery. It was a minor process, like he wasn't in pain for more than a couple of days, just some residual soreness and stuff. So he goes to pick up his oxy from the pharmacy. They give him like fucking 25 or 30 pills, like enough pills to last you like a fucking week when he only needed a few days worth of pills. So why are they prescribing you that many pills? Because they know you're going to like them and keep taking them. They want to get you hooked on them. So not only did they lie and say that it was non-addictive, but they actually helped the patients get addicted to them. So no, they should all be in fucking prison for life. No doubt about that. All right. Vienticus says, when you get these people that say, what are you worried about if you've got nothing to hide? Just remind them that a mouse has nothing to hide until the snake reveals itself. Thank you, Vienticus. Like the great Vienticus Prime says, don't comply. This Wegman venture needs to fail or we are uber fucked. Talk about the boiling frog. Love DD. Indeed. John M says, final story reminds me of another story. Real estate's tracking renters' social media with an app checking for updates like work promotions in order to increase your rent. All right, I got a couple more, but I got to copy them over. So why don't we knock over the super chats first?
Doke. All right. Michael Mike, the Russian bot. Next up, Maduro is a secret trans fat kingpin. Looking forward to Russ on the road. Have a great trip, Russ. Thank you, Mike. Brad Gilbert, want to bet Mamdani will work with Wegmans? WEF puppet. Yeah, man. I will be interested to see how the whole Mamdani thing plays out. I guess I'll know when my new lease comes up.
Right.
Virtuoso, if the U.S. goes on a full-scale invasion of Venezuela, creating another crippling refugee crisis, I encourage working-class Venezuelans to flee to Tennessee and claim it as Venezuela. I like that idea.
Yeah,
we would go cover that. Brad Gilbert, DD, Jimmy Dore Show, etc. need to stop reading tweets for fuck's sake.
Why not? It's part of our show.
Yeah, it's part of the conversation. Why would we do that?
Part of what we do.
Richard Pemberton. Kern says Nick Shirley is doing great gum share reporting. I guess just like Matt T. Did he say that? I mean, I guess he did. That's hilarious.
Well, he's a Minnesota guy, and he claims that his outlet, the Country Highway, the print magazine, broke that story a while ago. So I'm surprised he's not upset that the guy stole his thunder.
I mean, it seems like he's in that place where he just wants to see people in pain
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
That's kind of what gets him up in the morning now. After he gave up the vodka, he needs a good hate boner to get out of bed. Kuznetsky was saying not even Jason Bourne could escape Palantir nowadays. Wow, I'm gonna try. Stank Jesus. American politics feel like I'm the only one not pissing in the pool, and I'm being criticized for pissing in the pool. Everyone's lost their damn mind. Yeah, we'll get used to that feeling. I've felt it for 10 years. Just Pyrite. I've had a retinal scan, fingerprints for teaching, my DNA tested. They have it all. Hing Healthcare gets all the info. Yeah, probably not just them, man. That's what Palantir is about. Pulling all that information into a database and using AI to create a model of everybody.
That's right. The Anticus Prime. Authentics is meant to be sounded out like authentics, but with T instead of TH. Authentics.
Okay, yeah. I've never come across the name before. I didn't know
Yeah.
how you were supposed to
I
say
haven't
it.
either. Freddie X says, evil Grand Platter here. If bombing another Venezuelan boat saves even one of the 80% of constantly overdosing American toddlers, it's worth it. Thank you, Freddie X. Appreciate that. All righty, folks. Well, that is our show. We thank you all for joining. Russ, safe travels, of course, obviously. Make it there and back in one piece. Russ will be joining us Sunday night at 7 o'clock. I am live at noon on Thursday with our friend Kit Cabello from Hardlands Media. Will be sitting in the host chair, and then I will be hosting the Jimmy Dore Show on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So that's what we got coming up this week. Lots of fun stuff. Russ will see you all from Thailand, and we will see you all next time. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks to the YouTubers and the Rumblers and the mods for keeping the peace in the chat. Appreciate you all being here. Smash that like button on the way out. Please smash that subscribe button on the way out if you are not subscribed. If you're listening on the audio podcast, smash that follow button on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And we will see you all next time. Until then, thanks very much for spending this afternoon with us. Be safe and be well.
Courage and namaste, yo. See y'all on the other side.
Please clap.